After World War II, the United States encountered a lasting problem related to its borders. This issue revolves around taking water from the land for farming and the complex interactions of cooperation and rivalry among states. In this discussion, we'll look into the difficulties of this problem, questioning whether the current borders can last and suggesting different viewpoints. Come along as we uncover the problem with the USA's borders. The Union was established when Delaware became the first state to ratify the recently drafted U.S. Constitution on December 7, 1787. 12 other states did the same during the following 2 years, so by 1790, the original 13 states had been completed. In 1791, Vermont joined as the 14th state, and by 1803, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Ohio had also been admitted. The acquisition of the Louisiana Territory from France in the same year doubled the country's size, initiating a period of significant expansion. Between 1812, when Louisiana was admitted, and 1912, when Arizona became the 48th state, the United States added 31 states, averaging a new state every 3 years during this period. This westward expansion continued until 1912, when Arizona's admission marked the completion of the country's territorial growth. For the subsequent 47 years, the American map remained unchanged. In 1959, Alaska joined as the 49th state, and less than 9 months later, Hawaii became the 50th and final state to enter the Union. This event in 1959 marked the conclusion of the country's statehood expansion, solidifying its current geographical configuration. Now, 62 years have passed without any alterations to the American map, marking the longest period of stability in the country's history. While the prospect of change looms on the horizon, particularly with the growing momentum for Puerto Rican and DC statehood, it is evident that the United States has entered a phase where its dynamism has diminished. The era of territorial expansion has concluded, with all available land on the continent now claimed. The current stagnant state of borders, persisting for over a century, presents a new opportunity for introspection. Instead of seeking expansion beyond existing borders, there is a chance to focus on the internal lines that define the country. During the rapid period of state additions, little consideration was given to the intricacies of borders and their long-term impact on states. Many borders were drawn without regard for the landscape or natural barriers, resulting in straight and inflexible divisions that have proven detrimental. It may be time for the U.S. to re-evaluate its internal divides, ushering in a new era not of expansion but optimization. Anticipating skepticism, one might question the need for changing existing borders, especially given the overall success of the country in the past century. However, it's essential to acknowledge that not all states were created equal. While some have thrived and become significant contributors, others have been left disadvantaged by their geography and the arbitrary borders that confine them. When contemplating the potential for change, an argument surfaces suggesting that the USA, despite its accomplishments, could benefit from re-evaluating its internal structure. Such a re-evaluation could pave the way for a more equitable distribution of resources and opportunities among states, fostering a future that is both inclusive and prosperous for the entire nation. To underscore the impact of arbitrary state creation, let's delve into 3 instances where states have directly suffered due to their haphazard formation. Take West Virginia, for example, separated from Virginia in 1863. Since then, it has found itself in one of the poorest and least developed regions of the country. Consistently ranking at the bottom in various metrics, such as 50th in median household income, 49th in per capita income, 44th in overall poverty rate, 50th in life expectancy, and 50th in college education. West Virginia's challenges become evident, highlighting the consequences of geographical happenstance on a state's well-being. Nestled entirely within the Appalachian Mountains, the state lacks flat land suitable for farming, faces difficulties in transporting materials for manufacturing, struggles to develop large cities, and poses obstacles for people moving to the area. Its primary economic driver, coal mining, has sustained the state historically. However, with the decline of the coal industry, opportunities for employment are diminishing, leading to population decline. Without diversified industries to rely on, West Virginia struggles to retain its population and attract newcomers. The state's geographic constraints within the Appalachians limit its self-sufficiency. Considering this, it might be more beneficial for West Virginia to be part of a larger, more diversified state rather than an independent entity. While recombining with Virginia seems like an obvious choice, the geographical barrier of the Appalachians might make merging with Ohio or Kentucky a more practical solution. This could provide easier access through shared rivers connecting to the Great Lakes or the Mississippi River. Such a move could offer West Virginians an alternative with less challenging terrain while remaining within the state. It's important to understand that the present challenges faced by West Virginia are not solely a consequence of its own choices, but trace back to hastily defined borders during a period of separation from Virginia. The dedication of West Virginians to the Union shouldn't mean being stuck in a state predestined for economic difficulties. Taking a fresh look at and possibly adjusting borders could present an opportunity for a more sustainable and thriving future for the region. To the west lies the state of Nevada, where, despite a more favorable economic situation than West Virginia, geographical challenges, particularly in topography, present unique difficulties. In most regions globally, rivers flow from mountains to the coast, forming watersheds or drainage basins where all the water within an area ultimately converges into the same destination. However, Nevada faces a distinct scenario due to the arrangement of its mountains. In certain configurations, mountains can block all routes to the ocean, creating what is known as an endorheic basin. The Rocky Mountains, in this case, have given rise to a substantial internal watershed, the Great Basin. Thousands of years ago, during the last ice age when increased moisture prevailed, the basin accumulated enough water to form the vast Lake Bonneville. In the present, under a more arid climate, the lake has dwindled to its deepest section, now recognized as the Great Salt Lake. The remainder of the basin has evolved into the largest of the country's 4 deserts. Nevada faces unique challenges due to its distinct geography. While the Great Basin Desert stretches across several states like Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, Oregon, California, and parts of Mexico. Nevada is the only state almost completely surrounded by this vast desert. The scarcity of water in much of Nevada has been a long-standing issue, and before 1940, it was the least populated state in the country. A significant turning point came with the legalization of gambling, transforming Nevada into the fastest-growing state from 1940 to 2003. However, this rapid growth has created new problems, particularly with water. People tend to settle in areas with easy access to water, putting a strain on the state's resources. As a result, Nevada continues to grapple with the increasing challenges of water shortages, highlighting the ongoing struggle between the state's growth and the limited availability of this essential resource. The Great Basin Desert covers many states like Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, Oregon, and California. It even stretches into parts of Mexico. But Nevada is the main state tucked right into this dry basin. This causes a big problem for Nevada because there isn't much water. A lot of people in Nevada struggle to get enough water, and this has been a big challenge for a long time, slowing down how many people can live there. Because of the lack of water, Nevada has faced issues with growing its population. It's hard for people to live there when there isn't enough water for everyone. This has been a challenge for a while and has affected how much the state can grow. Before 1940, Nevada held the dubious distinction of being the least populous state in the nation, harboring only 110,000 residents. The transformative shift occurred when the state made a pivotal decision to legalize gambling. This landmark choice propelled Nevada into unprecedented growth, earning it the status of the fastest-growing state from 1940 until 2003. The influx of millions of residents concentrated in areas with accessible water sources, underscoring the profound impact of water availability on population distribution. However, as Nevada continues its trajectory as one of the fastest-growing states in the country, the specter of extreme water shortages looms large. This challenge is exacerbated by the state's need to contend with neighboring California for water rights, further intensifying the struggle for a finite resource. Nevada became a state because of the urgent needs during the American Civil War. To make sure Abraham Lincoln won the election, Nevada was quickly added to the Union just 8 days before the vote, even though it only had around 10,000 people. Much less than the usual 60,000 needed for statehood, this rushed decision driven by the desire to support Lincoln meant Nevada became a state without access to important water sources like the Colorado River and Lake Mead. In its early days, the state was missing not only Las Vegas, but also 80% of the people who would eventually live there. While Nevada's subsequent absorption of part of the Arizona Territory improved its access to water, particularly from Lake Mead, the broader challenge of inadequate water access persists, hindering the state's capacity to expand beyond the confines of Las Vegas. The last example discusses the geographical and agricultural characteristics of states in the central United States, including Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, and North Dakota, situated in the Great Plains region. It questions the rationale behind having multiple states governing what is essentially a cohesive area dominated by continuous farming. In this vast expanse, the once expansive grasslands have been transformed into a thriving agricultural corridor, contributing significantly to the country's agrarian strength. However, the passage raises a pertinent query about the need for separate state governance in this region. It points out that maintaining multiple state governments can be economically burdensome for residents, as it entails higher taxes for essentially the same services. Furthermore, the intricacies of coordinating efforts and taking decisive actions come to the forefront, particularly vital in sectors like agriculture, where how land is managed regionally significantly affects the economy. The historical backdrop of the Dust Bowl, a consequence of poor land management, serves as a cautionary tale, underscoring the importance of effective decision-making. Concurrently, present-day apprehensions regarding the diminishing Ogallala Aquifer also come into focus. The Ogallala Aquifer, a central component in this discourse, is elucidated as an underground reservoir gradually formed by water soaking into the soil, essentially creating an expansive subterranean lake. This natural resource takes center stage in discussions about contemporary challenges, including the potential resurgence of problems like the Dust Bowl due to insufficient land management practices and the ongoing reduction of the aquifer's water levels. The need for strategic actions in the agricultural sector becomes increasingly evident as historical lessons intertwine with present-day concerns, emphasizing the importance of sustainable land and water management practices. Since World War II, big farms have been using a lot of water from the Ogallala Aquifer to grow crops in the central U.S. This turned a once dry and grassy area, known as the prairie, into vast fields of corn. However, using so much water is slowly draining the aquifer. The aquifer spans 8 different states, and managing it requires these states to cooperate. But here's the problem. Since each state benefits economically from taking out as much water as possible for farming, they don't really work together. It's like a shared resource problem known as the tragedy of the commons, where everyone tries to take as much as they can, even if it means there won't be any water left eventually. This is usually when regulations from a higher authority like the federal government should step in to prevent overuse. But in the US, getting different states to agree on things can be tough. If fewer states, or even just one, were in charge and understood that their whole economy relied on farming, then the responsibility to fix the issue would be on a single entity. For example, Texas, with its diverse economy, heavily relies on groundwater for irrigation and has seen significant drops in the aquifer level. With a more centralized approach, the problem might be easier to tackle. The challenge arises when the Ogallala Aquifer dries up in places like Texas, where it might not pose as significant a problem due to their diversified economy. However, for states heavily reliant on farming, a substantial decrease in production could spell disaster. Experts estimate that we may only have a decade or two left of being able to use water from the aquifer, underscoring the urgent need for action to avert this crisis. The issue stems from the fact that the borders of these states were established before we understood these water-related problems. Now that we are aware, it becomes crucial to question whether maintaining these state lines is worth it, especially if it means people in these states could lose their jobs and be forced to relocate within just a few years. As we confront the impending water scarcity, reassessing and potentially adjusting state boundaries becomes a pressing consideration for the well-being of communities relying heavily on agriculture. In the past, when a similar situation led to thousands of farmers losing their jobs, around 2.5 million people left states like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, heading to places like California. This triggered the worst economic period in the country's history. What I'm trying to emphasize is that the current borders might not be the most practical, given our knowledge now. It could be beneficial to start thinking about changing them. So, let's explore what improved borders could look like. Comparing the United States to Europe is a common practice due to shared histories, cultures, and geographical similarities. The US, spanning 9.8 million square kilometers, is nearly equivalent to Europe's 10.1 million square kilometers. In turn, America's 50 states are roughly comparable in size to Europe's 44 countries. However, a significant difference arises in population density. Europe, with 746 million people, accommodates more than twice the population of the United States, which has 330 million people. This means that in Europe, a larger population is distributed across fewer sovereign states. Taking Texas as an example, the second largest US state, it surpasses the size of Europe's second largest country, Ukraine. Although Ukraine has a population of 44 million, 15 million more than Texas. France, Europe's third largest country, is only slightly larger than California, the US's third largest state, but has a population nearly 20 million greater. Similar population disparities are observed in other large countries like China, with 33 major subdivisions and 1.4 billion people, India, with 36 subdivisions and 1.3 billion people, and Africa, with 54 countries and a total population of 1.2 billion. This leads to the suggestion that the United States might have too many states. Using Europe as a benchmark, a simple proportion of its population over subdivisions suggests that around 20 states could be adequate for a country with 330 million people. Various approaches can be taken to reduce 50 states to 20, and opinions on the best method will vary. Initially, a simplification involved combining neighboring states with careful selection and consideration of new populations and sizes. However, this process revealed the challenge of creating long, straight lines that overlooked local nuances. Upon further examination, it became clear that this method still presented issues. In the course of research, an existing 20-state arrangement employed by the United States Geological Survey was discovered, addressing many of the previously mentioned problems. Notably, a significant aspect of the challenges discussed relates to water resources. The map that drew attention illustrates the country's water resource regions, diverging from current state boundaries to align with genuine hydrological units. Each state is essentially defined by a single drainage area, providing a distinctive perspective on the nation's geography. Dividing the country like this has a bunch of benefits. First, each state has its own natural routes for transportation, making it easy to get around. It also gives each state full control over its water resources. In simpler terms, each state has complete control over its water and doesn't have to depend on other states or borrow water from them. Upon closer examination, we observe that Nevada and Utah have been replaced by the Great Basin, a state characterized by its extreme scarcity of water. While this might initially sound impractical, the benefit lies in the potential for implementing more suitable water management regulations. For instance, the state could enforce restrictions on water usage unrelated to human survival, such as prohibiting lawn watering in the midst of a desert, eliminating water parks, golf courses, and, notably, discouraging irrigation-intensive agriculture. Although a statewide ban on most forms of farming might appear drastic, this restructuring allows each state to have a clearer purpose, with agriculture becoming the responsibility of states with more abundant water resources, such as those in the Midwest. The lands above the Ogallala Aquifer, for instance, have been consolidated into two states based around the Missouri River watershed and the Arkansas River watershed, streamlining decision-making and action against aquifer depletion. The consolidation of the Ohio drainage basin transforms West Virginia into a larger, more economically diverse state, potentially better equipped to address and improve its current challenging conditions. Overall, this proposed layout seems more intuitive, fostering the development of distinct cultures and identities within each region. However, it's essential to acknowledge that there are anomalies and challenges in this proposed arrangement. The Rio Grande, serving as a significant component of the country's southern border, splits its drainage basin between the US and Mexico, resulting in a panhandle-like extension following the river's course. The same happened to the Great Lakes Basin, where the placement of Canada's border breaks the southern portion of the watershed into a narrow region extending from Minnesota all the way into New York's Lake Ontario coast. Besides that, however, I think the character of the East Coast has been pretty well preserved, breaking it up into New England, the Mid-Atlantic, and the South Atlantic Gulf, though it should be noted that each of these isn't based around a single watershed, as the rivers here become much smaller than in the middle of the country, and rather, each state is a collection of smaller river basins that all empty into a single area. A similar thing happens with California, where it's easier to group all the numerous smaller rivers coming from the coastal mountains than to make each their own entity. But don't worry, what these states lose in their internal connectivity is made up for by the greater accessibility they get through having a coastline. Problems emerge when looking north, however, where we find what's called the Soros Red Rainy Watershed. Here we see international borders again interrupt our plan. Only, unlike the southern border, this one between the US and Canada doesn't follow the river, but rather runs straight through it, leaving only an uneven sliver of the true watershed named for the rivers flowing through it. All of these waters empty into Canada to lakes like Winnipeg and Lake of the Woods, and eventually to the Hudson Bay. This creates a really fractured and not really navigable state that would probably be better off traded to Canada for the rest of some of our watersheds like the Missouri and Columbus. Ironically, our borders used to accommodate this, but the US and Canada actually swapped these lands in order to have a straight line. In essence, restructuring the country in this manner appears to have the potential to enhance the functioning of individual states and, consequently, the entire nation. However, like any system, it would not be without its own set of shortcomings. Remarkably, this concept of regional organization isn't new. It was proposed by a man named John Wesley Powell way back in 1890. Powell, having personally explored and mapped much of the American frontier, developed a blueprint for the western states. Regrettably, when Powell presented his map to Congress, it didn't gain much traction. Instead, the current state arrangement, which differs from his proposed plan, became the norm. Despite the potential benefits of Powell's vision, the complexities of implementing such changes and the resistance to altering established systems resulted in the continuation of the existing state structure we have today. Flash back to 1912, when these borders were set in stone and the US population was a mere 95 million. Less than a third of today's bustling populace. With this in mind, perhaps it's worth considering not a reduction in the number of states, but an increase to accommodate the significant growth we've experienced since then. Over the past century, a distinct hierarchy of states has emerged. Leading the pack are California and Texas, not coincidentally the two largest and most populated states in the contiguous 48. Their substantial size has granted them considerable influence, casting a shadow over many neighboring states. This prompts the question, is it truly equitable to allow some states to be considerably larger than others? As we navigate the changing landscape of population dynamics, rethinking the state map may be a pertinent conversation to ensure a fair and balanced representation across the nation. In California, there have been proposals to split the state into as many as 6 smaller states. One advocate of this idea is Tim Draper, a venture capitalist who invested $5 million to try to get his plan on the 2016 ballot. However, he later abandoned the idea of 6 Californias and opted for a 3-state model. In contrast, When Texas joined the Union, it had the option to divide itself into up to 5 smaller states. However, there were no specific guidelines on how to carry out this division. The most popular suggestion, proposed after the 2008 election by the website 538, involved splitting Texas into the Plainlands, El Norte, New Texas, the Gulfland, and Trinity. However, if California is only broken into 3 states, the argument could be made that Texas only really needs to be broken in 2. The easiest way to do this would probably be to use the Texas-Colorado River, which runs pretty cleanly straight through the middle of the state. This would result in a North Texas containing Dallas-Fort Worth and Houston, and a South Texas with cities like San Antonio, El Paso, and Corpus Christi. Austin, Texas, the current state's capital, is actually bisected by the Colorado River, placing parts of the city in both states, meaning they'd both likely want to find different capitals, while Austin would act as the bridge between them. Of course, California and Texas are both well aware of the advantages that come with their massive sizes, and therefore would likely never agree to something like this. Now let's see if applying some criteria for the United States. Starting with the simplest factor, language. English is overwhelmingly the most spoken language in every state. Even in regions where Spanish is the second most common language, such as along the country's southern border, it is used by less than 30% of the population. Therefore, dividing the country based on linguistic lines would seem nonsensical. In the realm of religion, the landscape differs between the United States and Africa. While Africa is almost evenly divided between Islam and Christianity, 2 distinct religions. The religious scene in the US is notably characterized by the overwhelming prevalence of Christianity. To discern variations within Christianity, one must delve into the different branches, effectively segmenting the country into 3 or 4 major segments, alongside various smaller denominations. This religious diversity within Christianity adds nuance to the American religious tapestry, distinguishing it from regions where broader religious divisions are more evenly distributed. But considering one of the foundational principles of this country was the separation of church and state, it just feels a little backward to literally define states based on their biggest churches. And so, finally, that leaves race, or, in this case, ethnicity, which, is where things get complicated. Looking at a map of the country by the largest ancestry group, we'll find only 6 groups represent more than 5% of the country's population: German, English, African, Mexican, Irish, and Italian, some of which have formed a solid block, while others have more sporadic, non-continuous distributions. However, one thing a map like this is good at showing is settlement patterns. Because the English were the first immigrants to arrive by the East Coast and establish a population, they provided a baseline stock across the nation, on top of which subsequent immigrant groups would build. For this reason, today's English-speaking population doesn't really form a cohesive territory outside of areas like the Appalachians and Rockies where no one else wants to live. The wave of German immigration predominantly took place from 1820 to 1910, attracting around 6 million individuals to cross the Atlantic, enticed by advertisements offering affordable land. A distinctive feature setting the German immigrants apart from many others was their requirement to have the means to purchase farms. In contrast to several immigrant groups settling in urban centers on the East Coast, the majority of Germans opted to invest in prime farmlands in the Midwest. This choice significantly contributes to the present scenario, where the German ethnic group constitutes nearly 50 million people, surpassing half of Germany's total population. The intentional focus on agriculture during their migration has left a lasting impact on the demographic landscape and cultural fabric of both the Midwest and the broader United States. African Americans have quite the opposite tale to tell, mostly being brought over through the slave trade. From just under 600,000 people brought into the country, the African American population has grown to just over 40 million, with their concentration in the South reflecting where slavery was practiced most commonly. With ongoing immigration from Mexico, Mexican Americans have become the 4th largest ethnic group in the United States, totaling 37 million. and they hold the distinction of being the fastest-growing ethnic community. The geographical proximity between the United States and Mexico has led to a distinct pattern in their migration. Unlike many other immigrant groups entering through the East Coast, most Mexican immigrants have crossed the U.S.-Mexico border directly. Consequently, their distribution spans across southern Texas, extending through New Mexico, Arizona, and reaching Southern California. This unique migration pattern has shaped the demographic landscape, contributing to the significant and growing presence of Mexican Americans in these regions. The stories of the Italians and Irish share striking similarities. Driven by significant hardships in their home countries, both communities were compelled to immigrate to America, arriving in a state of considerable impoverishment. Their early experiences were predominantly centered around the cities where they first landed. New York City became a focal point for Italians, while the Irish established communities in Boston and Philadelphia. This common thread led to the development of smaller, tightly knit populations concentrated in and around these eastern urban centers, defining the early presence of both Italian and Irish communities in the broader American landscape. Ultimately, though, a deeper examination shows how deceptive a map such as this is, regardless of how powerful one group may appear to be in a particular area. Just 29% of people claim English ancestry in Utah, the state with the highest English population. Even the most German state, North Dakota, only has 39% German people. Even the most African American state, Mississippi, has a 38% African population. Only 33% of Texas, the state with the largest Mexican population, is Mexican. The most Italian state, Connecticut, is only 18% Italian, whereas the most Irish state, New Hampshire, is only 20% Irish. This indicates that there isn't a single ethnic group that constitutes a majority anywhere in the nation. It is therefore blatantly incorrect to describe the people who reside here using a map like this one. Generally speaking, attempts to divide the U.S. into distinct regions based on language, religion, and ethnicity have shown us that these criteria aren't really helpful in describing the country as a whole, demonstrating that the country is actually considerably more cohesive than we may realize. The most favorable borders are often shaped by natural barriers, as these geographical features frequently give rise to distinctive cultural traits within a population. Communities residing along the coast differ from those in the desert, mountains, grasslands, and forests. Therefore, our aim is to propose borders based solely on naturally occurring boundaries, such as mountains and rivers. The nation is crisscrossed by three major mountain ranges: the Appalachian Mountains, acting as a divide between the Midwest and the East Coast, the Rockies marking the end of the grasslands, and the Cascade Mountains, separating the interior deserts from the coastal woods. Additionally, rivers play a crucial role in expanding and defining the country's interior, providing prominent and easily accessible waterways. However, the challenge with relying on rivers is that they tend to gradually branch into smaller streams, resulting in numerous unfinished boundaries. This geographical tapestry of mountains and rivers shapes the landscape, contributing to the diverse and varied regions across the United States. Presently, there are a total of 28 states encompassing Hawaii and Alaska, each with borders determined by the surrounding terrain. The Appalachians and their rivers played a role in dividing the East Coast into medium-sized states, while the tributaries of the Mississippi River formed larger bodies spanning the Great Plains, ending abruptly where the plains meet the Rockies. Creating states in areas with few rivers posed significant challenges. The Great Basin in the middle of the country is a notable example, lacking many rivers to naturally define state borders. This difficulty in creation left a substantial void in the middle. The situation was somewhat alleviated by the Cascade Mountains along the Pacific coast, resulting in states that somewhat resemble the current layout. The intricate dance of geography has played a pivotal role in shaping the diverse and varied states that make up the United States today. Examining the various approaches to dividing the nation, it seems reasonable to assert that as long as the current model continues to function, or at least doesn't completely collapse, None of these proposed alternatives are likely to replace the existing structure. However, what are your thoughts? Do you find the current model preferable? Or do you think one of the suggested alternatives is better? Or do you believe that the boundaries of America could be redrawn even more thoughtfully and skillfully? Share your insights and opinions on the matter. Please share your thoughts with me in the comments section below. Besides that, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you want to keep seeing videos like this. Thanks. Why will East Africa break up and merge with India, reshaping our world in ways we never imagined? The answer lies in a colossal geological revelation that has left scientists astounded. An expansive crack, like a silent seam, slicing through Africa's heart. Imagine the implications of an entire continent splitting in two. The Earth, our home, is an ever-changing planet, a dynamic entity shaped by forces deep within its core. One of the captivating geological phenomena currently unfolding is the East African Rift, a vast expanse stretching over 3,000 kilometers from the Gulf of Aden in the north to Zimbabwe in the south. This geological feature, which has gained increased attention in recent years, is not merely an abstract concept but a transformative force with tangible consequences, evident in the landscape. Altering events that transpired in Kenya in 2018. In 2018, a sudden and substantial crack appeared in Kenya, capturing the world's attention and sparking speculation about its connection to the East African Rift. Initial theories pointed to soil erosion as the likely culprit, dismissing a direct link to the geological processes occurring beneath the Earth's surface. However, Lucia Perez-Diaz, a postdoctoral researcher at Royal Holloway, University of London, proposed an alternative perspective. Diaz suggested that the crack might be a result of the erosion of soft soils filling an old rift-related fault, reigniting the connection to the East African Rift. To comprehend the forces at play, one must revisit the fundamental principles of plate tectonics. The Earth's lithosphere, a combination of the crust and the upper mantle, is not a static entity. It consists of tectonic plates in perpetual motion. As these plates move, they can rupture, giving rise to rifts and the formation of new plate boundaries. The East African Rift stands as a testament to this geological dance, actively reshaping the African continent. The impact of the East African Rift is profound, cleaving the African plate into two unequal parts known as the Somali and Nubian plates. The rift's characteristics evolve along its extensive length, creating a tapestry of geological features. In the southern reaches, faulting occurs over a broader area, while volcanic activity and seismicity are relatively limited. However, as one ventures towards the Afar region, a striking transformation unfolds. The entire Rift Valley floor is adorned with volcanic rocks, signaling that the lithosphere has thinned nearly to the point of complete rupture. What sets the East African Rift apart is its potential for long-term consequences. Lucia Perez-Diaz posits that throughout tens of millions of years, the rift's activities will culminate in seafloor spreading along its entire length. This gradual process will birth a new ocean, reducing the African continent's size. The encroaching ocean will reshape the geography, leaving in its wake a large island composed of fragments from Ethiopia and Somalia, nestled in the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean. The unfolding drama of the East African Rift is a testament to the dynamic nature of our planet. It is a reminder that the Earth is not an inert sphere, but a living, breathing entity subject to constant transformation. While these geological processes may unfold over immense timescales, their implications extend far beyond the temporal confines of a human lifespan. In the short term, these changes may seem imperceptible to our human senses, lost amidst the hustle and bustle of daily life. Yet understanding and monitoring these geological phenomena are imperative for several reasons. Firstly, they offer a window into Earth's past, helping scientists unravel the intricate story of its evolution. Secondly, they provide insights into the present, enabling us to comprehend the forces shaping our environment. However, perhaps most crucially, a deep understanding of geological phenomena is indispensable for anticipating and mitigating potential hazards. The Earth's dynamic nature brings with it the inherent risk of seismic events, volcanic eruptions, and other geological upheavals. By unraveling the mysteries of the East African Rift, scientists and researchers gain valuable knowledge that can inform strategies for disaster preparedness and response. As we peer into the geological tapestry of the East African Rift, we are reminded that the Earth is a complex system where interconnected forces shape the destiny of continents. It prompts us to reflect on the interplay of time, space, and geological processes that have crafted the world we inhabit today. The East African Rift stands as both a testament to the relentless march of geological time and a harbinger of the transformations that lie ahead. In essence, the story of the East African Rift is not just a narrative of tectonic plates and geological forces. It is a narrative of our planet's resilience and adaptability. It speaks to the ever-changing nature of Earth, where continents shift, oceans evolve, and landscapes transform. While the crack in Kenya in 2018 may have captured headlines and stirred curiosity, it is but a fleeting moment in the epic saga of geological change. The East African Rift serves as a captivating chapter in the Earth's geological narrative, offering a glimpse into the dynamic forces that have sculpted and continue to shape our planet. As we stand on the precipice of the future, this geological phenomenon invites us to contemplate the intricate dance of tectonic plates, the gradual evolution of landscapes, and the enduring resilience of the Earth. The story of the East African Rift is a reminder that our world is in a constant state of flux, and understanding these changes is not just a scientific endeavor, but a journey into the heart of our planet's ever-unfolding story. The Earth, a dynamic and ever-changing planet, unfolds its secrets through the lens of scientific exploration. In a recent revelation that captivates the imagination and underscores the planet's transformative nature, scientists have unearthed evidence of a new ocean forming as Africa begins to split. This monumental discovery, documented in the peer-reviewed journal Geophysical Research Letters, heralds a profound geological transformation that promises to reshape the African continent and give rise to a completely new water body. The sprawling landmass of Africa, the world's second largest and second most populous continent, is undergoing a seismic shift. Geologists have meticulously tracked the separation of the continent into two distinct parts, setting the stage for the emergence of a novel ocean. If this process continues, countries such as Zambia and Uganda may find themselves endowed with coastlines, a testament to the profound geological metamorphosis underway. The scientific expedition that unveiled this awe-inspiring phenomenon pinpointed the exact location, buried deep underground, where the African continent first began to split. This geological demarcation lies at the convergence of three tectonic plates, the African, Arabian, and Somali plates, slowly drifting away from each other. The intricate dance of these colossal plates sets in motion a complex tectonic process that scientists predict will culminate in the creation of a brand new ocean, an entity that will define the geography of Earth for generations to come. The epicenter of this geological marvel, known as the East African Rift, stretches an impressive 35 miles since its initial appearance in 2005 in the Ethiopian deserts. Christopher Moore, a PhD doctoral student at the University of Leeds, elucidates the significance of this location as the only place on Earth where you can study how continental rift becomes an oceanic rift. Employing cutting-edge satellite radar technology, Moore diligently monitors volcanic activity in the East African region, providing critical insights into the continent's gradual breakup. The tectonic forces at play are orchestrated by the subtle yet inexorable movements of the Arabian and Somali plates, which have been gradually distancing themselves from the African continent for the past 30 million years. This gradual shift mirrors the geological processes that gave rise to the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, serving as a historical echo of the Earth's dynamic past. The Somali plate, too, asserts its independence, peeling away from the African plate through the East African Rift Valley, leaving in its wake a testament to the relentless forces shaping our planet. To discern the nuances of these tectonic movements, scientists harness the precision of GPS instruments, enabling them to make meticulous measurements of land displacement. Ken McDonald, a marine geophysicist and professor emeritus at the University of California, underscores the significance of GPS measurements, stating, "With GPS measurements, you can measure rates of movement down to a few millimeters per year." This meticulous tracking of millimeter-scale movements lays bare the intricate choreography of tectonic plates and offers a glimpse into the gradual orchestration of Earth's transformation. As the African continent undergoes this profound metamorphosis, a new water basin is destined to form in its midst. The nascent ocean, still in the womb of geological time, holds the promise of altering not only the physical contours of Africa, but also the geopolitical dynamics of the surrounding regions. The birth of a new ocean is a reminder that the Earth is a living, evolving entity, and its landscapes are the canvas upon which the forces of time and geology paint their stories. In contemplating the grandeur of this geological revelation, one cannot escape the perspective that it unfolds over vast periods, millions of years marked by the imperceptible dance of tectonic plates. Yet, within this geological epic, there is an urgency for understanding and adaptation. The gradual emergence of a new ocean raises questions about the resilience of ecosystems, the potential impact on biodiversity, and the implications for human communities in the region. The story of the East African Rift evolving from a crack in the Ethiopian deserts to the birth of a new ocean is a testament to the interconnectedness of geological processes and the delicate balance that sustains life on our planet. It beckons humanity to contemplate the ephemeral nature of human existence against the backdrop of geological time, urging us to be stewards of the Earth's treasures and custodians of its delicate equilibrium. In the face of such monumental geological events, there is a responsibility to translate scientific knowledge into strategies for environmental conservation and disaster preparedness. The birth of a new ocean, while awe-inspiring, also holds the potential for ecological disruptions and challenges that demand a thoughtful and proactive response from the global community. As we stand witness to the unfolding drama beneath the Earth's surface, the emergence of a new ocean becomes a symbol of the Earth's enduring vitality and capacity for renewal. It prompts reflection on the intricate dance of geological forces that have shaped our world and continue to shape its future. In the quiet rifts and yawning chasms, we glimpse the profound narratives etched into the Earth's crust, inviting us to contemplate our place in the grand tapestry of the cosmos. The discovery of a new ocean forming as Africa splits is not just a scientific revelation, it is a call to marvel at the wonders of our planet and to safeguard its intricate beauty for generations yet unborn. In the intricate dance of tectonic plates that underpin the geological symphony of our planet, the unfolding narrative of the East African Rift takes center stage. As scientists delve deeper into the dynamics of this colossal geological process, the revelations are nothing short of awe-inspiring. The recent discovery that a new ocean is forming as Africa begins to split is a testament to the Earth's dynamic nature, offering a glimpse into the profound transformations occurring beneath our feet. Ken McDonald, a distinguished marine geophysicist and professor emeritus at the University of California, provides a guiding voice in deciphering the intricacies of this geological saga. As measurements from GPS instruments accumulate, a clearer understanding of the ongoing processes emerges. McDonald emphasizes the significance of these measurements, stating, "As we get more and more measurements from GPS, we can get a much greater sense of what's going on. It is through these precise measurements that scientists can unravel the mysteries of the Earth's subterranean ballet." The heart of this geological spectacle lies in the East African Rift, a colossal fracture in the Earth's crust that stretches an impressive 35 miles. The rift, initially appearing in 2005 in the Ethiopian deserts, marks the point where the African, Arabian, and Somali tectonic plates converge. These immense plates, driven by forces deep within the Earth, are gradually moving away from each other, setting the stage for the creation of a new ocean. The visionary revelation painted by MacDonald foresees the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea, inundating the Afar region and the East African Rift Valley, ultimately giving birth to a new ocean. This transformative process extends beyond the mere reshaping of coastlines. It heralds the emergence of a separate small continent within East Africa. The magnitude of this geological shift invites contemplation on the timescales involved, with the birth of the new ocean and continent projected to unfold over millions of years. The distinctive pace at which the three tectonic plates part ways adds layers of complexity to this geological narrative. The Arabian Plate, a key player in this dynamic scenario, asserts its independence from Africa at a remarkable rate of approximately 1 inch per year. This steady movement, invisible to the naked eye but meticulously measured by scientific instruments, is a testament to the relentless forces shaping the Earth's crust. In tandem with the Arabian Plate's departure, both the African and Somali plates contribute to the gradual breakup of the continent, albeit at a more measured pace. Their separation unfolds at rates ranging from ½ an inch to 0.2 inches every year. These seemingly minuscule measurements underscore the patience required to comprehend the grandeur of geological processes, where change occurs incrementally, yet inexorably. As we contemplate these measurements and projections, it becomes evident that we are witnessing the early chapters of a geological saga that spans epochs. The birth of a new ocean and the emergence of a distinct continent within East Africa are not fleeting phenomena but enduring legacies of Earth's dynamic evolution. This geological narrative, written in the movements of tectonic plates and the carving of rifts, beckons us to consider the profound interplay between human timeframes and the vast epochs etched into the Earth's crust. The implications of these geological transformations extend beyond the realm of scientific curiosity. The envisioned new ocean and continent prompt reflections on the ecological, environmental, and geopolitical repercussions that may unfold throughout millions of years. It underscores the imperative for responsible stewardship of our planet, recognizing that the Earth's resilience is intertwined with the actions and decisions of its human inhabitants. Amid this geological revelation, Ken MacDonald's insights serve as a beacon guiding our understanding of the Earth's profound transformations. His elucidation of the processes underway in the East African Rift inspires a sense of wonder and humility in the face of the planet's majestic complexity. It invites humanity to embark on a journey of scientific exploration, environmental conservation, and responsible coexistence with the ever-evolving forces that shape our world. As we navigate the uncharted territories of a future where a new ocean emerges and a separate continent takes form, the lessons from the East African Rift beckon us to approach the Earth with reverence and foresight. The measured movements of tectonic plates, the incremental shifts beneath the surface, and the patient unfolding of geological time all converge to remind us that we are mere spectators in the grand theater of the Earth's geological saga, a saga that continues to unfold with each passing moment, shaping the contours of our planet and influencing the destiny of generations yet unborn. The Earth, our dynamic and ever-evolving home, is currently staging a geological spectacle of epic proportions, the formation of a new ocean as Africa embarks on a journey of splitting. In a remarkable breakthrough earlier this year, scientists uncovered this transformative process, revealing that the two parts composing the world's second largest and second most populous continent are gradually parting ways. As the landmass separates, a new ocean emerges, creating the potential for countries like Zambia and Uganda to boast coastlines of their own in the distant future. The revelation, documented in the peer-reviewed journal Geophysical Research Letters, marks a pivotal moment in our understanding of Earth's geological processes. Scientists, through meticulous investigation, have pinpointed the exact spot deep underground where the African continent began to open up. This profound event is unfolding at the borders of three tectonic plates, the African, Arabian, and Somali plates, that have been gradually drifting apart, laying the groundwork for the eventual birth of a new ocean. The monumental rift, known as the East African Rift, stretches an impressive 35 miles and first made its appearance in 2005 in the Ethiopian deserts. Christopher Moore, a PhD doctoral student at the University of Leeds, describes this location as the only place on Earth where you can study how continental rift becomes an oceanic rift. To unravel the intricacies of this geological drama, Moore employs state-of-the-art satellite radar technology to monitor volcanic activity in the East African region, intimately connected with the continent's gradual breakup. The East African Rift is situated at the convergence of the African, Arabian, and Somali tectonic plates. Over the past 30 million years, the Arabian Plate has been executing a slow but deliberate move away from the African continent. This tectonic shift, while gradual, bears echoes of past geological events that shaped our planet's features. It mirrors the forces that created both the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden between two connected land masses, underscoring the recurring themes in Earth's geological narrative. Adding to the complexity of this geological ballet, the Somali Plate is also asserting its independence from the African Plate, peeling away through the East African Rift Valley. The international scientific effort unraveling this phenomenon offers a glimpse into the intricate workings of continental rifts evolving into oceanic rifts, a process with implications that extend across geological timescales. As we marvel at the unfolding drama beneath the Earth's surface, it's crucial to recognize the profound impact of these geological processes. The crack in the Ethiopian deserts, gradually extending to a 35-mile rift, is not merely a fracture in the Earth's crust, but a gateway to understanding the mechanisms that shape our planet. The birth of a new ocean is a testament to the ceaseless dynamism of Earth, where continents shift, oceans emerge, and landscapes transform over millennia. In the grand tapestry of geological time, the East African Rift serves as a focal point, a juncture where the Earth's crust tells a story of separation and creation. The revelation invites us to contemplate the patient dance of tectonic plates, the slow but inexorable drift that gives rise to landscapes and features we often take for granted. The crack in the Ethiopian deserts, once a subtle rift, is a harbinger of a profound transformation that will unfold over millions of years. As we look towards the future, the scientific insights gleaned from the East African Rift transcend mere academic curiosity. They carry implications for our understanding of Earth's past, present, and future. The birth of a new ocean prompts questions about the resilience of ecosystems, the potential impact on biodiversity, and the geological forces that shape the destiny of continents. The measured approach of Christopher Moore and his scientific counterparts, utilizing satellite radar technology and delving into the intricacies of tectonic plate movements, exemplifies the meticulousness required to comprehend the Earth's geological symphony. Their work serves as a testament to the human quest for knowledge and the collaborative efforts that transcend borders in the pursuit of understanding our planet's complexities. The birth of a new ocean as Africa, throughout millions of years, begins to split. This revelation, a result of an international scientific effort, unveils the East African Rift, a crack that currently extends 35 miles and stands as the sole location on Earth where one can witness the metamorphosis from a continental rift to an oceanic rift. Christopher Moore, a PhD doctoral student at the University of Leeds, articulates the uniqueness of the East African Rift, emphasizing, "This is the only place on Earth where you can study how continental rift becomes an oceanic rift." Moore employs cutting-edge satellite radar technology to meticulously monitor volcanic activity in the East African region, providing crucial insights into the continent's gradual breakup. The crack, residing on the borders of the African, Arabian, and Somali tectonic plates, encapsulates a story that has been unfolding for the past 30 million years. The Arabian Plate, in a slow and deliberate movement, has been distancing itself from the African continent. This familiar tectonic shift seen previously in the creation of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden between connected landmasses serves as a historical echo in the Earth's geological narrative. Simultaneously, the Somali Plate too asserts its autonomy, peeling away from the African Plate as it navigates the intricate landscape of the East African Rift Valley. The magnitude of this geological event, indicative of the restless forces shaping the Earth, prompts a meticulous examination of the movements beneath the surface. GPS instruments, offering a precise lens into these monumental shifts, enable researchers to measure land movements with unparalleled accuracy. Ken McDonald, a marine geophysicist and professor emeritus at the University of California, underscores the significance of GPS measurements, explaining, with GPS measurements you can measure rates of movement down to a few millimeters per year. This meticulous tracking of movements is a testament to the commitment of scientists to unravel the mysteries of the Earth's subterranean ballet. As measurements accumulate, a more comprehensive understanding of the tectonic forces at play begins to emerge. McDonald highlights the transformative future awaiting the East African Rift, a future where the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea will inundate the Afar region and the East African Rift Valley, giving rise to a new ocean. This monumental shift will not only reshape coastlines, but will also result in the emergence of a separate small continent within East Africa. The three key players in this geological drama, the African, Arabian, and Somali plates, move away from each other at varying speeds. The Arabian Plate, making a resolute departure from Africa, moves at a remarkable rate of approximately 1 inch per year. The African and Somali Plates, in comparison, exhibit a slower separation, breaking away at a rate ranging from ½ an inch to 0.2 inches every year. As we ponder the implications of this geological saga, it becomes clear that we are witnessing the early chapters of a narrative that spans geological epochs. The crack in the Ethiopian deserts, stretching to a length of 35 miles, is not merely a fissure in the Earth's crust. It is a harbinger of a profound transformation that will unfold over millions of years. In contemplating the measured movements of tectonic plates and the incremental shifts beneath the Earth's surface, we are confronted with the enduring legacy of Earth's dynamic evolution. The birth of a new ocean and the emergence of a distinct continent within East Africa invite reflection on the interplay between human time frames and the vast epochs etched into the Earth's crust. The scientific revelations stemming from the East African Rift transcend mere academic curiosity. They carry implications for our understanding of Earth's past, present, and future. The birth of a new ocean prompts questions about the resilience of ecosystems, the potential impact on biodiversity, and the geological forces that shape the destiny of continents. As we stand on the cusp of a future where a new ocean emerges and a separate continent takes form, the lessons from the East African Rift beckon us to approach the Earth with reverence and foresight. The measured movements of tectonic plates, the incremental shifts beneath the surface, and the patient unfolding of geological time all converge to remind us that we are mere spectators in the grand theater of the Earth's geological saga. A saga that continues to unfold with each passing moment, shaping the contours of our planet and influencing the destiny of generations yet unborn. The dynamic canvas of our ever-changing world unfolds its latest masterpiece through shocking photographs, capturing Africa in the throes of a transformational upheaval. Earlier this year, these visuals laid bare the astonishing spectacle of Africa splitting apart, a vivid portrayal of a new ocean emerging between the diverging land masses. These images not only document the immediate impact of this geological metamorphosis, but also offer a glimpse into the profound changes that will shape the African continent over the coming millions of years. Earlier this year, these visuals laid bare the astonishing spectacle of Africa splitting apart, a vivid portrayal of a new ocean emerging between the diverging land masses. These images not only document the immediate impact of this geological metamorphosis, but also offer a glimpse into the profound changes that will shape the African continent over the coming millions of years. In the heart of this seismic activity lies the Afar Desert in Ethiopia, where a volcanic vent has opened, exposing the depths of the geological drama. The stark images portray a landscape in the process of cleaving apart, creating a visual narrative of the rift that extends through Kenya, with the chasm between the two land masses foreshadowing the eventual birth of a new ocean. As these two parts of land in Kenya continue to separate, the promise of a future ocean running through the divide becomes increasingly evident. The geological saga, documented in the peer-reviewed journal Geophysical Research Letters, is a testament to the collaborative effort of an international scientific endeavor. Researchers have meticulously traced the exact spot where the crack emerged, a location situated at the convergence of three tectonic plates, the African, Arabian, and Somali plates. The gradual movement of these colossal plates has set the stage for a transformative event that will unfold over geological timescales. Christopher Moore, a PhD doctoral student at the University of Leeds, lends his expertise to unraveling the secrets of this unique phenomenon. This is the only place on Earth where you can study how continental rift becomes an oceanic rift, Moore asserts. His utilization of satellite radar technology became a crucial tool in monitoring volcanic activity in the East African region, intimately tied to the continent's gradual breakup. The extensive crack, known as the East African Rift, stretches an impressive 35 miles and made its initial appearance in 2005 in the Ethiopian deserts. The unfolding drama of continents parting ways and a new ocean taking shape is not just a geological event. It is a narrative that spans millions of years, etching itself into the annals of Earth's history. At the heart of this geological symphony is the intricate dance of tectonic plates, the African, Arabian, and Somali plates, each playing a distinct role in the grand narrative. Over the past 30 million years, the Arabian plate has been steadily moving away from the African continent, marking a tectonic shift that has historical echoes in the creation of the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. The measured movements, tracked with precision through GPS instruments, reveal the intricacies of this geological dance. Ken McDonald, a marine geophysicist and professor emeritus at the University of California, elucidates the significance of GPS measurements, stating, "With GPS measurements, you can measure rates of movement down to a few millimeters per year." The gradual but inexorable movement of the Arabian plate at a rate of approximately 1 inch per year offers a glimpse into the patient forces shaping the Earth's crust. As we witness the evidence of this geological rift in the shocking photographs, the crack serves as a visual testament to a gap that is growing, albeit imperceptibly in the short term. Both the African and Somali plates contribute to the gradual separation, breaking away at a slower rate, approximately ½ an inch to 0.2 inches every year. These seemingly small measurements become profound when contemplated over the expansive canvas of geological time. The forecast for the future continues widening, where East Africa could eventually form its separate continent. McDonald envisions a transformative event where the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea will flood into the Afar region, permeating the East African Rift Valley and giving rise to a new ocean. Simultaneously, a portion of East Africa will emerge as its distinct landmass, a small continent born from the relentless forces shaping the Earth. In navigating the landscapes of these shocking photographs, one is not merely witnessing a geological spectacle, but contemplating the profound interconnectedness of Earth's processes. The birth of a new ocean becomes a metaphor for the ceaseless dynamism of our planet, where continents shift, oceans emerge, and landscapes transform over geological epochs. As we grapple with the enormity of this geological revelation, the lessons extend beyond scientific curiosity. The shockwaves captured in these images prompt reflection on the resilience of ecosystems, the intricate balance of biodiversity, and the enduring forces that shape the destiny of continents. The story told through these photographs is not confined to the immediate visual impact, but extends into the vast expanses of Earth's geological time, urging us to contemplate our place in this ever-evolving narrative. The shocking photographs capturing Africa splitting apart as a new ocean forms are not merely snapshots of a geological event. They are windows into the unfolding drama of our planet, where the forces of time, tectonics, and transformation converge to shape the landscapes we call home. As we gaze upon the chasm in the Ethiopian deserts, we are reminded that the Earth is a dynamic and living entity, and these shocking photographs are but glimpses into the ongoing saga of its geological evolution. And there you have it, a glimpse into the awe-inspiring forces sculpting our planet. Now, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this geological spectacle? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button for more intriguing insights into the mysteries of our world.
The world would not be the same. Now I am become death, the destroyer of feelings.
Should Russia choose to deploy nuclear weapons, it is likely that a significant number of its targets would be located within the expansive 3.797 million square miles or 9.834 million square kilometers that constitute the United States. This preference stems from the US's robust military strength, making it the sole nation with a nuclear arsenal comparable to that of Russia. Unfortunately, there are very few places in the United States that would be safe from destruction if Russia launched a nuclear attack. It would be challenging for the US to prevent these missiles from hitting their targets due to their overwhelming numbers. New information points to some of the first areas that could be hit by Russian nukes. The big question is, would you be safe? Let's jump right in and talk about the places Russia might target. But before we do that, let's understand how we know who might be in danger. This year, Putin said Russia won't follow the New START nuclear weapons treaty anymore. This treaty, made in 2011, aimed to reduce nuclear weapons worldwide. Now that Putin isn't sticking to it, Russia can increase its stockpile of 5,889 nukes. Right now, only 1,588 of these nuclear weapons are active, but if Putin is getting ready for nuclear war, this might change fast. Even with just over 1,500 active nuclear warheads, Russia could destroy every US and NATO target globally.
И при угрозе территориальной целостности нашей страны, для защиты России и нашего народа, мы, безусловно, используем все имеющиеся в нашем распоряжении средства. Это не блеф.
That's why when Putin said, "To defend Russia, we will use all weapons at our disposal," this is not a bluff. It worried the West a lot. Russia currently has the most nuclear weapons globally, with the United States closely behind with around 5,244 nukes. It's important to note that the US is trying to decrease its number of nuclear warheads, while many other countries like Russia are increasing their stockpiles. Guessing which places might get targeted is easier for some locations than others. But if we pay attention to what Putin has said before, he pretty much told us where the nukies could be headed. Once, while talking to the Russian people on TV, Putin mentioned a superfast missile that could go 5 times quicker than the speed of sound, around 3,836 miles per hour or 6,173 kilometers per hour. He said this missile could carry a nuclear warhead. We're not sure if this weapon is real and working, but when Putin talked about it, he said it might hit the Pentagon, Camp David, Jim Creek Naval Radio Station, Fort Ritchie, and McClellan Air Force Base. If there's a war and Russia decides to use nuclear weapons, they would likely target military sites first. These are places like bases, weapon storage, and important installations. Before getting into big cities and towns, let's look at one of Russia's common nuclear missiles called the RT-2PM Topol. This missile has a power of 800 kilotons, which tells us how strong it is. Later, we'll also talk about what would happen if Russia used even more powerful nuclear weapons. It's important to understand the massive destruction these weapons can cause. Now, let's talk about the Pentagon. a major target for Russia in a potential war. The Pentagon is where the US Department of Defense is headquartered. If Russia were to destroy it, it would seriously harm the command structure of the US military. While it wouldn't completely disable the military, it would create chaos in the country's leadership. The problem is, hitting the Pentagon with a nuclear weapon would also devastate much of Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. In Washington, D.C., there are about 713,000 people, and in the larger D.C. area, over 6,385,000 people live. If a nuclear bomb goes off over the Pentagon, around 420,000 people would be killed in the initial blast, and an estimated 861,500 people would be injured. The fireball from the explosion would vaporize the Pentagon and everything within a half-mile radius. The blast damage would extend 4 miles out from the center, destroying or severely damaging most of Washington's legislative buildings and monuments. When examining the images of nuclear explosions in this video, it's crucial to understand the significance of the different rings. The innermost circle, closest to the epicenter, represents the area consumed by the fireball, effectively vaporizing anything within it. The bluish ring, the second from the epicenter, signifies the zone where the shockwave and air blast cause serious damage, potentially destroying buildings and creating flying debris that can lead to more casualties. The third, yellowish-colored ring indicates the region where radiation would be so intense that it could cause third-degree burns, with the risk of harmful mutations in people's DNA, potentially leading to cancer. This is also true for all the areas closer to the epicenter. The outermost ring signifies light blast damage, which could still result in fatalities. Anyone within these circles who survived the initial blast would receive a significant dose of radiation, likely leading to death shortly after. Given that the White House is approximately 2.17 miles from the Pentagon, the president would be at risk of being killed by the high-intensity shockwave. However, it's likely that Russia would specifically target the White House with a dedicated nuclear strike. In the event of a nuke hitting the Pentagon, thousands of government officials and their staff would be killed, prompting the government to enter crisis mode. Almost all power would immediately be transferred to the president. If the president were killed, the next person in the line of succession would assume the role of commander-in-chief. The succession order includes the vice president, Speaker of the House, President pro tempore of the Senate, Secretary of State, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Defense, and so forth, until a surviving individual can take over. In addition to targeting the US capital, Russia would prioritize the destruction of as many nuclear missile silos as possible to increase its chances of surviving a retaliatory nuclear strike by the US. While this strategy wouldn't be completely foolproof due to the vast US nuclear arsenal, numerous early warning systems, and submarines with nuclear missiles in undisclosed locations worldwide, Russia would aim to neutralize as many US Minuteman III ICBM bases as possible in the initial attacks. This would entail striking some remote parts of the US. For Russia to stand a chance of survival in the following hours, it would need to target all the Minuteman III ICBM bases in the United States. One such base is Malmstrom Air Force Base in the middle of Montana, which houses around 3,400 military personnel and about 1,000 civilians. However, it is the base's 150 Minutemen III nuclear missiles that would be the primary focus for Russia. While Putin might order several nuclear strikes on high-priority targets, just one would have devastating consequences. Everyone on the base would be killed in the initial blast, along with 15,000 people in the nearby towns of Black Eagle and Great Falls. The number of injured would be around twice as much. The population in the region isn't very dense, so the casualties wouldn't be nearly as high as in a major city, but that is not the objective of hitting Malmstrom Air Force Base. Russia would only be trying to cripple the military installation's ability to launch its Minuteman missiles back at their homeland. Unfortunately, upon detonation, the water flowing through the Missouri River near the blast site would immediately evaporate. The water further upstream would continue to flow and eventually pass through the irradiated landscape around Malmstrom. This water would then carry radioactive particles downstream and eventually into the Mississippi River. For weeks and even months, the contaminated water won't be safe to drink. Wildlife will die of radiation poisoning even if they are hundreds of miles away from the blast site. However, Malmstrom isn't the only military target on Russia's list. A second key military base that Russia would target is Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. This installation also contains approximately 150 Minuteman missile silos. Minot doesn't have as many staff as Malmstrom, with only 3,200 military personnel and 420 civilian employees. However, the town of Minot itself is more populated than the area around Malmstrom. This means that the number of casualties will be higher when the nuke detonates. The number of immediate casualties will be 23,300, with another 20,000 people suffering injuries from the air blast of the explosion. This entire region of the country is sparsely populated, so the fallout won't contaminate as many people as in other regions. But again, the goal for these nukes is to render the United States ICBMs in the area inoperable. The final military base that would be a crucial target for Russia is F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Wyoming. However, the Minutemen silos under its control are actually spread across Wyoming, Colorado, and Nebraska. This base oversees around 150 missiles, with approximately 3,360 military members and around 964 civilians working at the location. Similar to other ICBM missile silos, more than one Russian nuclear warhead would likely be directed towards this area. Even just one strike would result in around 26,600 deaths and 36,380 casualties. The town of Cheyenne would be decimated, and anyone in the vicinity at the time of detonation would likely receive a lethal dose of radiation. In addition to targeting military bases, Russia would launch nuclear strikes at U.S. command and control targets across the country. Some of these locations are well known, while others are not as widely recognized. In fact, you might be living near one and not even be aware of it. One obvious target would be the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, at Peterson Air Force Base. Unfortunately, this is just outside of Colorado Springs, a heavily populated area in the state. This means that when a nuke strikes the Air Force Base, it will also decimate much of Colorado Springs. NORAD is a combined organization that includes the United States and Canadian employees who oversee aerospace warning, air sovereignty and protection for Canada, the continental United States, and Alaska. Peterson Air Force Base and the surrounding area employees is home to a large number of military service members and civilians who work at the base. In fact, there are over 8,750 active duty members, 1,325 reservists, 10,200 family members of the military, and 1,900 civilians in the area. This is on top of the over 23,000 veterans. This key target for Russia will cost the lives of over 60,000 people and injure close to 200,000. The eastern portion of Colorado Springs would be decimated, although people in the mountains to the west of the small city could be spared from much of the fallout as the wind would blow radioactive particles further east towards Kansas. Then there is Offutt Air Force Base, just outside of Omaha, Nebraska. This is the headquarters of the United States Strategic Command and would be a very important base for Russia to take out. The U.S. Strategic Command's mission is to deter strategic attack through a safe, secure, effective, and credible global combat capability and, when directed, is ready to prevail in conflict. So, it's pretty obvious why Russia would want to destroy the headquarters of this organization. A nuclear strike on Offutt would result in a significant breach in U.S. defenses, causing immediate and severe casualties. The blast would claim the lives of approximately 40,000 people and leave around 145,000 more injured. This is due to the fact that the area is home to over 32,000 military personnel, civilians, contractors, dependents, and retirees, and Omaha itself has a population of around 500,000. The waters of the Missouri River would rapidly evaporate from the heat, and the incoming water would become irradiated as it flowed toward the Mississippi. Strategic Command operations would be relocated to one of the other 10 combatant command sites in the U.S. to continue preparations for a retaliatory strike. However, by this point, the U.S. would likely have already launched its own nuclear missiles in an attempt to eliminate Russian targets. Another strategic target for Russia would be rural Maine, near the border of Canada, where the VLF transmitter Cutler is located. This station plays a crucial role in transmitting one-way communication to submarines in the U.S. Navy's Atlantic Fleet, capable of reaching both surface and underwater vessels. Operating at 24 kHz with an input power of up to 1.8 megawatts, Cutler can transmit text messages at a low data rate. The base is a prime target for Russia because it is responsible for sending launch codes and orders to U.S. submarines with nuclear capabilities in the Atlantic Ocean. Destroying this base would make it more difficult for U.S. command to communicate with these submarines. The casualties resulting from a nuclear explosion at the VLF transmitter, Cutler, would be minimal due to its remote location. However, the impact on ocean life and coastal ecosystems in the area would be devastating. Cutler and its surroundings would see around 800 casualties from the nuclear blast, given that the town itself has a population of about 500. Similarly, the counterpart to the VLF transmitter Cutler is the Jim Creek Naval Radio Station in Washington State, responsible for transmitting orders to submarines in the Pacific Fleet. It's evident that this facility would be another target for the Kremlin to disable U.S. communication with its submarines off the east coast of Russia. However, like Cutler, the Jim Creek Naval Radio Station is situated in a remote area, resulting in relatively low casualties from the nuclear blast. An estimated 400 people would succumb to the immediate explosion at Jim Creek, with another 10,000 or so sustaining injuries. The surrounding forests would be set ablaze, and depending on weather conditions, the fires could burn for weeks. Survivors would likely flee to the coast, seeking shelter on islands just off the west coast of the state. The United States has an alternative means of communication with its Pacific Fleet through the Lualuale Very Low Frequency, VLF, transmitter in Hawaii, situated about 2,000 miles or 3,200 kilometers from the U.S. mainland. This transmitter has the capability to relay orders to the Pacific Fleet, making it another likely target for Russia. Despite Hawaii's remote location in the Pacific, Russian missiles launched from submarines could still reach its shores. Unlike Cutler and Jim Creek, Lualuale is in a relatively populated area. Oahu, where the transmitter is located, is the most populous island in the Hawaiian chain, with close to 1 million people at any given time. While a portion of them are tourists, Oahu also has a significant permanent population. If the Lualuale VLF transmitter were hit with a nuclear bomb, it would cause devastation to the population on the western part of the island. Those elsewhere on Oahu would likely be exposed to significant radiation, as there would be few places to seek shelter, and ocean breezes could carry radioactive particles and debris across the entire island. The immediate death toll would be around 18,500, with 76,000 more people injured. However, the fact that Oahu is also home to Pearl Harbor and a number of naval installations would mean that this island would likely be hit with several nukes. We've covered key military targets so far, and the casualties from nuclear strikes hitting these locations would likely reach into the hundreds of thousands. But if Russia goes for a nuclear attack, it won't just be military installations in the crosshairs, major cities will be targeted as well. It's too risky for them to leave densely populated urban centers untouched, as sparing large populations could mean facing more American forces in the future. In the aftermath of such strikes, the impact on both military and civilian casualties would be significant, with far-reaching consequences for the affected areas. In the event of a Russian nuclear strike, certain crucial cities would undoubtedly be in the crosshairs from the very start. What makes these potential targets particularly alarming is that the expected casualties would far exceed anything witnessed in the entirety of human history. One of these key cities is New York City, the financial hub not only of the United States but potentially the entire world. Despite its global economic significance, the strategic importance of Manhattan won't deter Russia from considering it a target. The detonation of a nuclear weapon over New York would be nothing short of catastrophic, with devastating consequences for both the city and its global economic influence. If Russia was trying to cripple the United States, it would probably fire a nuke at the financial district in Lower Manhattan. To be fair, it doesn't really matter where a nuke hits in New York City, as the island of Manhattan is only around 13.4 miles long yet, with a population of 1.63 million. Very few people would be able to escape the blast of an 800-kiloton nuke. The consequences of a warhead detonation over New York City would be catastrophic, resulting in an immediate loss of around 1.5 million lives. An additional 3 million people would suffer severe injuries, whether from radiation burns or the collapse of buildings. Considering the total population of all 5 boroughs of New York City is close to 8.5 million, the impact would be extensive. The shockwave, blinding flash of light, and airborne debris would affect every resident in the city. In the densely populated urban center like New York City, the existing medical infrastructure would struggle with overwhelming casualties, as major hospitals may be destroyed. Fires and infrastructure damage would impede response and recovery efforts, while the release of an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, would render communication and electronic systems useless, plunging the city into a technological dark age reminiscent of the 1700s. The profound and lasting impact highlights the urgent need to prevent such catastrophic events. However, the impact wouldn't be limited to New York City alone if Russia chose a nuclear attack. The ripple effect of such strikes would reach multiple cities, amplifying the scale of destruction and complicating recovery efforts. The disabling effect on modern technology would exacerbate the already catastrophic consequences, presenting unprecedented challenges for emergency response and recovery on a broad scale. Turning attention to the West Coast, Los Angeles emerges as another potential target. While not as densely populated as New York City, the City of Angels, with its just under 4 million residents, would still face significant death and destruction in the event of a nuclear strike. A detonation would particularly devastate downtown LA, resulting in the annihilation of a substantial area. The grim statistics paint a stark picture. Over 500,000 lives lost and 1.5 million people seriously injured. The impact would extend beyond human casualties to the city's extensive vehicular landscape. According to city records, there are 5,484,606 automobiles, 123,669 motorcycles, and 1,068,213 commercial vehicles in Los Angeles. Those not incinerated by the initial fireball would face further chaos, as blinded drivers could contribute to crashes and vehicles could be propelled across the landscape by the ensuing air blast. The overall toll on Los Angeles would be profound, underscoring the widespread devastation that would accompany a nuclear attack on a major urban center. The city already has water shortages, and the nuclear explosion would only make things worse. Miles of pipes would be rendered useless. What little water storage there was would be destroyed. People would flee the city but would find an inhospitable landscape all around them that was parched of liquid. The coastal winds would blow the radioactive smoke and soot inland, covering everything with irradiated fallout. In the middle of the country, Chicago and its 2.7 million residents would be a target as well. When the nuke detonated over the city, it would kill close to 600,000 people. Although if downtown Chicago ended up being the epicenter of the blast, half of the explosion and shockwave would extend into Lake Michigan, which could save the lives of many to the west of the city. However, even with part of the devastation being over water, over 1 million people would be injured in the blast. The enormity of a possible nuclear conflict becomes painfully clear when we consider the destiny of the 3 most populous cities in the United States: New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, all destined for obliteration. Simultaneously, Washington, D.C., the political hub, would undoubtedly be a prime target, with mushroom clouds rising above military installations transformed into craters. For Russia to effectively cripple the United States in a nuclear war, it would have to fully commit to such devastating strikes. What intensifies this grim scenario is Russia's powerful arsenal, stocked with enough nuclear warheads to repeatedly target major cities, urban areas, and every US military base. The potential for destruction is vast, portraying a bleak image of the widespread devastation that could unfold in the event of a nuclear conflict. The map outlining potential targets across the United States underscores the harsh reality of the catastrophic impact an all-encompassing nuclear strike would have on the nation. So it's clear that no matter where you are in the United States, chances are there would be a Russian nuke coming your way if Putin launched his entire arsenal. But it gets worse. Even if you were far away from all major cities or military targets, the radiation would likely still reach you in the form of fallout, as debris, smoke, and dust are kicked up into the atmosphere by a nuclear explosion. Irradiated particles are carried long distances by the wind and then fall to the ground, contaminating water, food, and the air. So really, the danger zones extend much further than just major cities and military bases if Russia decides to launch nukes at the US. As you can see, people who live pretty much anywhere in the eastern United States will receive an unhealthy dose of radiation, which is really bad news since around 80% of Americans live east of the Mississippi. The reason for that has a lot to do with climate and weather patterns, but that is a discussion for another video. What is important to know is that around 265.6 million people will either be killed, injured, or exposed to radioactive fallout in the United States if Russia attacks with nukes. But what about the rest of the world? We've focused a lot on the United States because Russia could not hope to win a nuclear war without targeting the US and the thousands of nukes in its arsenal. Regardless of what the initial targets of a Russian nuclear attack were, mutually assured destruction is inevitable at that point. So Putin may decide to not just target the United States, but major military bases across Europe as well. One significant target in the event of a nuclear conflict would be the Allied Air Command in Ramstein, Germany. This military installation plays a crucial role in leading NATO air and missile defense activities, including continuous air policing and the monitoring of alliance airspace. If Russia were planning a nuclear strike, this installation outside the United States would likely be on their list of targets. The Allied Air Command's primary responsibility includes monitoring the skies for incoming missiles, making them among the first to detect a potential nuclear attack. However, the time between detection and the actual impact of the warheads might be too short for effective evacuation. If a nuclear bomb were to detonate over the Allied Air Command base, approximately 30,000 lives would be lost in the immediate blast. Targeting Europe with nuclear weapons poses risks, as there is a possibility that some of the fallout could drift into Russia. However, if Russia launches its entire nuclear arsenal, the fallout becomes a secondary concern in the face of the broader catastrophic consequences. Similar to the potential targeting of major US cities, it's likely that Russia would aim its nuclear weapons at densely populated cities in Europe. London, with over 200 nuclear weapons in the United Kingdom, would undoubtedly be a prime target, putting the 8.8 million people living in the English capital at significant risk. If a nuclear warhead were to detonate over London, it would result in the complete destruction of iconic landmarks such as Parliament and Buckingham Palace, concentrated in the city centre. In the immediate aftermath, 1 million people would lose their lives, with an additional 2.3 million casualties caused by the shockwave in the moments following the blast. Only structures on the outskirts of the city would stand any chance of surviving the devastating impact. Similar to the scenarios discussed for other major urban areas like New York City, London would be engulfed in fires and any existing hospitals would be overwhelmed, assuming anyone could reach them and there were still staff alive to attend to the injured. Military and emergency personnel, spared from the attacks across the UK, would be mobilized to urban areas to provide assistance to survivors. Unfortunately, England and the surrounding regions would not escape the fallout, with most of the islands subjected to nuclear contamination. Coastal winds from the Atlantic could carry a significant portion of the radioactive particles into the North Sea, intensifying the challenges posed by nuclear fallout in the aftermath of such a devastating event. Regardless of where in the world it happens, the thought of Russian nuclear strikes is undeniably terrifying. Now let's consider an extreme situation. Where would a single nuclear strike cause the most casualties? In this alarming scenario, we turn our attention to one of the most densely populated cities globally. The Philippines is a crucial ally and defense partner of the United States, with Manila being its capital. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that Russia might target Manila with nuclear weapons. Manila is already one of the most densely populated cities, with 111,532 people per square mile, or 43,062 people per square kilometer in 2020. However, the real population density challenge lies in the broader metro area. While the city of Manila has around 1.8 million people, the Manila metro area is home to nearly 13.5 million people within its 239 square miles, or 620 square kilometers. This translates to a population density of 56,485 people per square mile, or 21,774 people per square kilometer.
It's enormous. It's extraordinary to set eyes upon. So,
to put this in perspective, the fireball from an 800 kiloton nuclear explosion covers about 1 square mile. The extreme population density in Metro Manila accentuates the potential for catastrophic casualties from a single nuclear strike. When you think about how tightly packed a city and its surroundings are, things can spiral out of control very quickly. If a Russian nuclear bomb went off over Manila, it would instantly kill around 2.1 million people. The total casualties, including those injured, would be close to 5 million. The more crowded a city is, the more devastating a nuclear explosion becomes. However, there's another factor to consider. Not all of Russia's nuclear bombs are 800 kilotons. In fact, Russia detonated the Tsar Bomba on October 30th, 1961, the largest nuclear bomb in history. This monstrous bomb had a yield of 50 megatons, making it over 5 times more powerful than the traditional nuclear warheads we've been talking about. Officially, it's said that the USSR only made 1 operational Tsar Bomba and 2 prototypes, but this can't be confirmed, as there might be more hidden somewhere in Russia. It's important to note that Russia has several nuclear devices with yields between 1 and 50 megatons that it could use. But what if it dropped a bomb similar in scale to the Tsar Bomba? What would that look like, and what would happen? In this grim scenario, let's return to New York City. Russia has modified a Tupolev Tu-160 bomber to drop a massive nuclear bomb, similar in size to the Tsar Bomba, right in the middle of Manhattan. When the bomb goes off, most of the island is instantly vaporized by the intense fireball. The fireball extends about 2.87 miles from the center, and the waters of the Hudson and East Rivers disappear immediately. What was once Manhattan and its surroundings becomes nothing more than a smoldering crater, turning the entire metropolis into a nightmarish scene. The destructive force of the blast causes heavy damage to buildings as far as 5.5 miles away. The iconic skyscrapers of New York City, which once reached over 1,000 feet into the sky, are now leveled like a barren desert. A towering mushroom cloud from the explosion reaches an astonishing height of 40 miles and can be seen from hundreds of miles away. Houses and older buildings up to 12.8 miles from the blast are knocked down, and the intense thermal radiation capable of causing severe burns is felt as far away as 37 miles. The aftermath paints a picture of widespread devastation, transforming the vibrant city into a landscape of ruin and suffering. Right after a 50 megaton nuclear bomb explodes, it's really bad. 7.6 million people die right away. But the sad truth is, it gets even worse. More people will die in the following days because of the lasting effects of radiation and the injuries from the blast. In total, around 12 million people are expected to be hurt by the nuclear explosion, showing just how far-reaching and devastating the damage is. It's a really tough situation with a lot of immediate and lasting consequences for a large number of people. Additionally, when a 50-megaton nuclear bomb goes off, it's not just about the immediate harm to people. The ground where the explosion happened stays contaminated with radiation for a long time, up to 5 years. This lingering radiation continues to be a danger to people's health and safety, adding to the long-lasting damage caused by such a powerful nuclear weapon. The immense level of destruction from a 50-megaton nuclear blast highlights how these weapons can cause unparalleled devastation very quickly, going beyond what regular weapons can do over a much longer time. The thought of a nuclear war is terrifying, and we all hope it never happens. If Russia were to attack with nuclear weapons, the US and its allies would respond, leading to devastating consequences for both sides. Predictions suggest an immediate death toll of nearly 100 million people, and the long-term impact of nuclear winter could lead to even more deaths. It's crucial for the world to unite and prevent such a catastrophic scenario for the safety of everyone. Ever wondered what sets Anchorage apart as America's most opulent city? Anchorage, where the ordinary is transformed into the extraordinary, the enigma of Anchorage's geography, beauty, and nature that collectively paint the canvas of a city like no other. The municipality of Anchorage, nestled in south-central Alaska, stands as a unique and vibrant city with a rich history and strategic geographical significance. Anchorage is the largest city in the U.S. state of Alaska, boasting a population of 291,247 as of the 2020 census. This figure represents nearly 40% of the entire state's population, surpassing the combined populace of northern Canada and Greenland. Furthermore, when considering the Anchorage metropolitan area, which includes the adjacent Matanuska-Susitna Borough, the population swells to 398,328, constituting more than half of Alaska's residents. The city's expansive reach extends over 1,706 square miles of land, making Anchorage the fourth largest city in the United States by area. Impressively, this surpasses the land area of the smallest state, Rhode Island, emphasizing the vastness of Anchorage's territory. The city's geographical position at the terminus of the Cook Inlet, surrounded by the Knik Arm to the north and the Turnagain Arm to the south, adds to its distinctive charm. Anchorage traces its roots to 1915, when it was established as a tent city near Ship Creek during the construction of the Alaska Railroad. It officially attained city status in November 1920 and witnessed significant growth over the years. In a notable development in September 1975, the city of Anchorage merged with the Greater Anchorage Area Borough, giving rise to the expansive municipality of Anchorage. This vast municipal territory spans 1,961.1 square miles, encompassing not only the urban core, but also a joint military base, outlying communities, and the majority of Chugach State Park. The unique composition of Anchorage is characterized by a striking contrast in population distribution. While the municipal limits cover a vast expanse, less than 10% of the area is populated. The highest concentration of residents is found in the 100-square-mile area known as the city proper, situated on a promontory at the headwaters of the inlet. This area is commonly referred to as Anchorage, the city of Anchorage, or the Anchorage Bowl. Anchorage's strategic location makes it a hub with global significance. Positioned almost equidistant from major cities such as New York City, Tokyo, and Murmansk, Russia, via the North Pole, Anchorage is within 10 hours by air of nearly 90% of the industrialized world. This unique positioning has made Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport a crucial refueling stop for international cargo flights, including being home to a major FedEx hub, integral to the company's global network of services. Not only recognized for its geographical importance, Anchorage has garnered accolades for its community spirit. The city has been honored with the All-America City Award 4 times in 1956, 1965, 1984, 85, and 2002 by the National Civic League. Additionally, Kiplinger has acknowledged Anchorage as the United States' most tax-friendly city, adding to the city's appeal as a place of residence and business. Anchorage, Alaska, has a rich history that dates back 5,000 years when Alutiiq people arriving by kayak inhabited the Cook Inlet region. Over time, waves of Alutiiq and Dena'ina Athabascans contributed to the area's cultural tapestry. In 1778, Captain James Cook explored the region, leaving lasting geographical names. The 19th century saw Russian influence, with trading posts and the introduction of diseases impacting native populations. In 1867, the US purchased Alaska from Russia. Gold discoveries in the late 1800s attracted prospectors to Turnagain Arm, leading to the formation of towns. Alaska became a US territory in 1912. Anchorage emerged as a railroad construction hub in 1914, leading to its growth. In 1920, the city was officially incorporated. The 1930s to 1950s brought significant growth due to air transportation and military importance. Merrill Field, established in 1929, was Anchorage's primary airport until 1951, when Anchorage International Airport took over. Elmendorf Air Force Base and Fort Richardson became economic drivers in the 1940s. The 1968 Prudhoe Bay oil discovery shifted the economy towards the oil industry. The devastating 1964 Good Friday earthquake, with a magnitude of 9.2, resulted in 150 casualties and $160 million in damages. Broadcaster Jeannie Chance played a crucial role in coordinating relief efforts. The earthquake triggered soil liquefaction, impacting residential areas like Turnagain. In the late 1960s, the oil boom further accelerated Anchorage's growth. In 1975, the city merged with the Greater Anchorage Area Borough, forming the municipality of Anchorage. The 1980s saw continued growth and beautification projects. Efforts to move Alaska's capital to Anchorage were made, but residents rejected the idea in 1960 and 1962. In 1974, as the population shifted to the rail belt, voters approved the move. However, a plan to build a new capital near Willow was rejected in 1978. Attempts to move the capital or legislature to Wasilla also failed. Today, Anchorage remains a vital center of Alaska's government activity and a testament to resilience, growth, and cultural diversity. Positioned at 61 degrees north latitude, it lies slightly north of European capitals like Oslo, Stockholm, Helsinki, and St. Petersburg. However, it's not as far north as Reykjavik or Murmansk. Anchorage's geographical coordinates place it northeast of the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and Cook Inlet, north of the Kenai Peninsula, northwest of Prince William Sound and the Alaska Panhandle, and nearly due south of the majestic Denali. The city's topography is characterized by a strip of coastal lowland that gradually ascends the lower alpine slopes of the Chugach Mountains. Point Campbell, Anchorage's westernmost point on the mainland, extends into Cook Inlet, where the inlet divides into Turnagain Arm to the south and Knik Arm to the west and north. Turnagain Arm, a remarkable fjord with some of the world's highest tides, adds to the city's coastal charm. To the east, the Chugach Mountains serve as a natural boundary, offering a rugged backdrop to the city and incorporating part of the wild alpine territory within Chugach State Park into the city limits. The city's sea coast, predominantly composed of treacherous mudflats, poses a unique challenge to residents and visitors. Extreme tidal changes and very fine glacial silt characterize this area. Newcomers and tourists are cautioned against walking on the mudflats, as the solid-seeming silt revealed during low tide can trap individuals. Recorded instances of people getting stuck in the mud occurred in 1961 and 1988, underscoring the importance of respecting the dynamic nature of the coastal environment. Covering a vast expanse, the municipality of Anchorage spans 1,961.1 square miles, with 1,697.2 square miles being land and 263.9 square miles as water, constituting 13.5% of the total area. The city's boundaries are adjacent to Matanuska-Susitna Borough to the north, Kenai Peninsula Borough to the south, and Chugach Census Area to the east. The Chugach National Forest, a nationally protected area, extends into the southern part of the municipality near Girdwood and Portage, adding to the city's commitment to preserving its natural heritage. Anchorage's diverse geography, encompassing mountains, inlets, and national forests, highlights its commitment to balancing urban development with the preservation of its natural surroundings. The city's location at the crossroads of stunning landscapes and its proximity to both wild and urban spaces make it a unique and vibrant destination in the heart of Alaska. Anchorage's residents, with a keen awareness of their environment, continue to cherish and protect the natural beauty that surrounds their city. The region hosts a diverse wildlife population, contributing to the city's character and offering residents a close connection to nature that is truly unparalleled. One of the most notable residents of Anchorage is the bear population. Approximately 250 black bears and 60 grizzly bears inhabit the area, and it's not uncommon for these majestic creatures to make appearances within city limits. Anchorage's residents have learned to coexist with bears, showcasing the city's commitment to fostering a harmonious relationship with its wildlife. Regular sightings of bears serve as a reminder that Anchorage is not just a bustling urban center, but also a part of the vast wilderness that defines Alaska. Moose, another iconic symbol of Alaskan wildlife, are a common sight in the Anchorage Bowl. During the summer, an estimated 250 moose roam the city, and this population can swell to as many as 1,000 during the winter months. While these creatures contribute to the city's unique charm, their presence poses challenges. Anchorage residents, known for their outdoor activities, often encounter moose on city trails. However, the interactions are not always benign, and moose pose a risk to drivers. Over 100 moose are killed by cars each year, highlighting the need for caution when navigating Anchorage's roadways. The dangers extend beyond collisions with vehicles. Two tragic incidents in 1993 and 1995 saw individuals stomped to death by moose in Anchorage, underlining the potential risks associated with sharing urban spaces with such formidable wildlife. Cross-country skiers and dog mushers have also faced charges from moose, necessitating intervention by the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, which occasionally must euthanize aggressive moose to ensure public safety. Dall sheep, a symbol of Alaska's rugged wilderness, add to the spectacle of Anchorage's wildlife. Frequently observed near the road at Windy Point, these creatures showcase the city's unique blend of urban and natural environments. Anchorage's residents and visitors have the rare opportunity to witness these magnificent animals up close, a testament to the city's commitment to preserving its natural heritage. The Anchorage area is also home to around 30 northern timber wolves. In 2007, reports surfaced of timber wolves killing several dogs while on walks with their owners. Such incidents serve as a reminder that, despite the city's urban facade, Anchorage remains an integral part of Alaska's wilderness, complete with its share of both wonders and challenges. Beyond terrestrial wildlife, Anchorage's waterways host beaver dams, contributing to the rich tapestry of ecosystems within the city. Sightings of foxes and their kits in parking lots close to wooded areas are common in the spring, adding to the city's biodiversity. The Seward Highway, which leads toward Kenai, provides a unique opportunity for residents and visitors to witness beluga whales in Turnagain Arm, showcasing the marine diversity that complements Anchorage's terrestrial wildlife. Lynxes, though occasionally sighted, further emphasize Anchorage's status as a city within nature's embrace. Their elusive presence adds an air of mystery to the urban landscape, reminding residents that the wild can be just around the corner. The municipality of Anchorage is not just a city, it's a testament to the delicate balance between urban development and the preservation of natural ecosystems. The coexistence of diverse wildlife with the city's human population underscores the commitment to environmental stewardship. Anchorage, Alaska, boasts a unique climate influenced by its subarctic classification with strong maritime influences. Unlike the more extreme continental climate of Fairbanks, Anchorage experiences moderate temperatures, making it an intriguing place to call home. Temperature patterns. The city enjoys an interesting interplay of seasons. Summer daytime temperatures range from a comfortable 55 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, 13 to 26 degrees Celsius, while winter temperatures average between 5 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 15.0 to minus 1.1 degrees Celsius. This subarctic climate contributes to a frost-free growing season lasting around 101 days. Anchorage residents even have a local legend tied to the native fireweed plant, claiming that the first snowfall of winter is 6 weeks away, when the plant goes to seed after full bloom. Precipitation and growing season. Anchorage's precipitation primarily occurs in late summer, offering relief from the generally dry conditions. The city experiences a growing season with an average of slightly over 101 days, providing ample time for flora to flourish. While summers are mild compared to the contiguous US and interior Alaska, rain is not a rare occurrence. July temperatures range from 52 to 66 degrees Fahrenheit, and the city recorded its highest temperature of 90 degrees Fahrenheit on July 4, 2019. Annual precipitation at the airport averages 16.63 inches, contributing to the overall vibrancy of the local environment. Winter challenges. Winters present a different picture. Average January low and high temperatures at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport range from 11 to 23 degrees Fahrenheit. Anchorage is no stranger to snow, with an average winter snowfall of 75.5 inches. In the 2011 to 2012 winter, the city experienced a record-breaking 134.5 inches of snow, surpassing the previous high set in 1954 to 1955. Extreme conditions. The city encounters its fair share of extreme temperatures. The coldest temperature ever recorded at the original weather station at Merrill Field was a bone-chilling minus 38 degrees Fahrenheit on February 3, 1947. Anchorage experienced its coldest daily maximum temperature of minus 19 degrees Fahrenheit in January 1989, emphasizing the occasional harshness of winter conditions, summer days and winter nights. Anchorage's unique geographical location influences the length of its days and nights. Summers are marked by extraordinarily long daylight hours, providing residents with extended periods of sunlight. In contrast, winter days are short, and the city often experiences cloud cover, reducing the amount of sunlight residents receive. Volcanic influence. Anchorage's proximity to active volcanoes introduces an intriguing element to its climate. While volcanic activity is infrequent, it can have significant impacts. The 2009 eruptions of Mount Redoubt led to a 25,000 feet high ash cloud and ash accumulation in the Cook Inlet region. The aftermath included challenges for the Anchorage water and wastewater utility due to excessive ash demands for water. An earlier event in 1992, the eruption of Mount Spur, deposited around 0.1 inches of volcanic ash on the city, causing notable disruptions. Anchorage's climate is a dynamic blend of subarctic influences and maritime moderation, creating a living environment with distinct seasons and occasional weather challenges. From the beauty of summer days to the resilience required during winter nights, Anchorage residents embrace the uniqueness of their climate, which mirrors the city's broader commitment to harmonizing with the natural wonders that surround it. Anchorage, Alaska, situated at the crossroads of wilderness and urbanity, unfolds a fascinating narrative of governance, politics, and community dynamics. Anchorage's story is one of unique governance, political intricacies, and a commitment to fostering a vibrant, inclusive community. Governance and leadership. Anchorage operates under an intriguing governance structure, featuring an elected mayor, an 11-member assembly, and the guidance of a city manager. This nonpartisan setup stands out as candidates for these positions run without officially aligning with any political party. Currently, Dave Bronson holds the mayoral reins, and the assembly comprises representatives elected from districts called sections. This governance model underscores a commitment to a non-partisan approach to local administration. The Assembly's composition is noteworthy, with 5 sections electing 2 members each and 1 section electing a single member. Before the 1980 United States Census, the single-member section focused on the northern Anchorage communities of Chugiak and Eagle River. Since then, downtown Anchorage and surrounding neighborhoods have assumed this crucial role. The mayor, along with school board members, is elected through a citywide vote, emphasizing a citywide perspective in key leadership positions. Political landscape. Anchorage's political landscape is multifaceted, showcasing a blend of political affiliations across different neighborhoods. Generally leaning towards Republican candidates, the city has seen exceptions with the election of Democratic mayors like Tony Knowles and Mark Begich. Their consecutive 2-term tenures paved the way for statewide offices, marking a unique aspect of Anchorage's political history. Downtown Girdwood and portions of both the western and eastern areas tend to lean Democratic, providing a counterbalance to more Republican-leaning areas. Neighborhoods closer to military bases, such as Eagle River and South Anchorage, exhibit a more Republican inclination. Midtown occupies a moderate position, contributing to the city's political diversity. The 2020 presidential election saw Joe Biden securing victory in Anchorage, marking a shift in historical voting patterns. Cultural exchange and community engagement. Beyond its governance and politics, Anchorage actively participates in cultural exchange programs, fostering connections with sister cities and maintaining a cultural exchange program with Montenegro. These initiatives contribute to the city's vibrant and diverse community, celebrating differences and building bridges across cultures. In the 2017 municipal election, Anchorage achieved a milestone with the election of Christopher Constant and Felix Rivera, the first openly gay candidates to secure public office in the city. This moment underscored Anchorage's commitment to inclusivity and diversity in its leadership. Representation in state legislature. Anchorage Eagle River plays a pivotal role in Alaska's state legislature, sending a significant number of representatives and senators. Of the 40-member Alaska House of Representatives, 16 representatives hail from Anchorage Eagle River, comprising a mix of Republicans and Democrats. The 20-member Senate sees 8 senators from this region, representing both major political parties. The ongoing debate about moving Alaska's state capital from Juneau to the Anchorage area reflects Anchorage's political influence. Proponents argue that over half of the state legislature comes from the Anchorage metropolitan area, especially when considering seats from the neighboring Mat-Su borough. This concentration of representation serves as a driving force behind discussions about relocating the state capital. Mail-in municipal elections and civic participation. In 2018, Anchorage embraced a significant change in its electoral process by transitioning to conducting municipal elections by mail. This shift, directed by the Assembly in 2015, aimed to enhance voter participation and accessibility. The move proved successful, resulting in the highest voter turnout in the city's history. Anchorage's commitment to fostering civic engagement through innovative election practices reflects a dedication to democratic principles. Anchorage's journey as a city unfolds as a captivating narrative of governance, political intricacies, and community engagement. Its unique governance structure, commitment to non-partisanship, and diverse political landscape set it apart. Anchorage actively embraces cultural exchange, celebrates inclusivity in leadership, and plays a pivotal role in shaping Alaska's state legislature. As the city continues to evolve, Anchorage remains a dynamic urban center, weaving together the threads of politics, community, and governance into a tapestry that reflects the spirit of the last frontier. Anchorage, a tapestry of history, geography, and culture, nestled in the heart of south-central Alaska, Anchorage stands as a testament to the intertwined narratives of history, geography, and culture. From its indigenous roots to the dynamic urban center it is today, the city's evolution reflects a rich tapestry woven by diverse communities against the backdrop of breathtaking natural landscapes. Indigenous Anchorage, a tapestry of settlements. Archaeological evidence discovered at Beluga Point, just south of Anchorage along the Turnagain Arm, reveals that habitation of the Cook Inlet began 5,000 years ago. The Alutiiq people, arriving by kayak, left an indelible mark on the region. Waves of Alutiiq occupation followed, and around 500 AD, the Dena'ina Athabascans displaced the Chugach Alutiiq, adding another layer to Anchorage's cultural mosaic. Captain James Cook's exploration in 1778 brought European influence, and the names he bestowed upon geographical features endure. Cook's search for the Northwest Passage shaped Anchorage's early encounters with the outside world, setting the stage for the city's later geopolitical significance. The 19th century witnessed Russian presence in south-central Alaska, with trading posts along Cook Inlet. This era introduced not only trade but also diseases that decimated the native population. In 1867, the United States purchased Alaska from Russia, marking a pivotal moment that would shape Anchorage's future. The gold rush of 1888, spurred by the discovery of gold along the Turnagain Arm, ushered in a new era. Prospectors flocked to the region, and the tent cities of Spenard, Hope, Rainbow, Bird, Indian, and Girdwood sprang up, laying the foundation for Anchorage's economic growth. Public education. Anchorage School District. Public education in Anchorage, covering areas like Eagle River, Chugiak, Fort Richardson, and Elmendorf Air Force Base, is overseen by the Anchorage School District. Ranked as the 87th largest district in the United States, it caters to nearly 50,000 students across 98 schools. Anchorage's commitment to fostering a robust public education system underscores its dedication to the intellectual growth of its youth. Private education, a mosaic of choices. In addition to public education, Anchorage offers a mosaic of choices in private education. From religious institutions to non-denominational schools, the city recognizes and accommodates the diverse educational preferences of its residents. Anchorage's academic hub. Anchorage stands as an academic hub with 4 higher education facilities offering bachelor's or master's degrees. The University of Alaska Anchorage, a cornerstone of the city's educational landscape, provides a range of academic programs. Alaska Pacific University, Charter College, and the Anchorage campus of Wayland Baptist University, a Texas-based institution, further contribute to Anchorage's academic vibrancy. Continuing education, nurturing lifelong learning. Anchorage recognizes the value of lifelong learning and provides avenues for continuing education. The Granger Leadership Institute, 9 Star Enterprises, CLE International, Nana WorkSafe, and PacBear DBA Bar & Co. contribute to the city's commitment to ongoing professional development. Anchorage's dedication to cultivating a culture of lifelong learning ensures that individuals can adapt to an ever-changing world. Educational attainment. Anchorage's academic profile. As a testament to Anchorage's commitment to education, 90% of adults in the city hold high school diplomas, showcasing a strong foundation in basic education. Furthermore, 65% of adults have pursued 1 to 3 years of college, indicating a widespread emphasis on higher education. Anchorage takes pride in its intellectually inclined population, with 17% of adults holding advanced degrees, a testament to the city's recognition of the importance of specialized knowledge. Diversity in education. Anchorage's inclusive approach. Anchorage boasts the most ethnically diverse schools in the United States, illustrating the city's commitment to fostering an inclusive educational environment. From high schools to elementary schools, Anchorage schools reflect the rich diversity of the community they serve. Even the least diverse schools in Anchorage rank in the top 1% nationally, highlighting the city's dedication to maintaining high standards of inclusivity and representation. Beyond borders, supporting regional education. Anchorage extends its commitment to education beyond its city limits. The Chugach School District operates neighborhood schools in the Valdez-Cordova census area, as well as the Voyage to Excellence Residential School in Anchorage. Anchorage's role as an educational hub extends its influence to neighboring regions, contributing to the broader tapestry of education in Alaska. At the heart of this healthcare tapestry are prominent institutions that have evolved to meet the growing needs of the community. Providence Alaska Medical Center, Alaska Regional Hospital, and Alaska Native Medical Center are the pillars of Anchorage's healthcare infrastructure, each with a unique history and a shared commitment to serving the diverse population of this northern city. Providence Alaska Medical Center, a legacy of healing. Providence Alaska Medical Center, nestled on Providence Drive, proudly holds the title of the largest hospital in Alaska. As a part of Providence Health and Services, a healthcare giant spanning Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and California, this medical center has been a cornerstone of healthcare excellence. The roots of the Providence Health System in Alaska trace back to 1902, when the Sisters of Providence of Montreal initiated healthcare services in Nome. Over the decades, this commitment expanded, giving rise to hospitals in Fairbanks in 1910 and Anchorage in 1937. Today, Providence Alaska Medical Center epitomizes comprehensive healthcare, offering a spectrum of services to address the diverse medical needs of the community. Its enduring legacy, shaped by the dedication of healthcare pioneers, continues to make a profound impact on the well-being of Alaskans. Alaska Regional Hospital, a journey of growth and collaboration. On D-Bar Road, Alaska Regional Hospital stands as a testament to the spirit of collaboration and continuous improvement in healthcare. Originating in 1958 as Anchorage Presbyterian Hospital, it was a joint venture between local physicians and the Presbyterian Church. The hospital witnessed transformative changes in 1976 when it moved to its present location and expanded to become a 254-bed licensed and accredited facility. In 1994, Alaska Regional Hospital embraced a new chapter in its journey by joining forces with HCA, one of the nation's largest healthcare providers. This strategic partnership catapulted the hospital into a new era of healthcare delivery, ensuring that it could leverage national resources to enhance local services. Today, Alaska Regional Hospital serves as a vital healthcare hub, contributing significantly to the well-being of Anchorage residents. Alaska Native Medical Center, cultural sensitivity in healthcare. Situated on Tudor Road, the Alaska Native Medical Center, ANMC, holds a unique position in Anchorage's healthcare landscape. It is dedicated to providing medical care and therapeutic health services to Alaska Natives, serving 229 tribes at the Anchorage site and 15 satellite facilities across the state. The 150-bed hospital not only functions as a healthcare provider, but also as a teaching center for the University of Washington's Regional Medical Education Program. Beyond healthcare, Anchorage thrives on essential utilities that sustain daily life. Chugach Electric Association, a non-profit, member-owned cooperative founded in 1948, plays a pivotal role in supplying electric power to the Anchorage area. The city's energy landscape underwent a significant transformation in 2020 when Chugach acquired Municipal Light and Power, the municipality of Anchorage's electric utility. This strategic move consolidated electric services, ensuring a more streamlined and efficient energy distribution system. Anchorage's lifelines: water, waste, and environmental stewardship. The municipality of Anchorage takes a proactive approach to ensure the well-being of its residents through the Anchorage Water and Wastewater Utility. Serving approximately 55,000 customer accounts, the utility draws water from Eklutna Lake, primarily sourced from the Eklutna Glacier's meltwater. This pristine water source reflects Anchorage's dedication to providing its residents with access to clean and sustainable water. Addressing environmental concerns, Anchorage Municipal Solid Waste Services and Anchorage Refuse take charge of trash removal, ensuring the city remains clean and environmentally responsible. These services operate with precision, catering to the diverse needs of the city's neighborhoods. The Glen Highway, AK1, northeast of the city, and the Parks Highway, AK3, these routes are the lifeblood of Anchorage's highway system. One ambitious project, the Highway to Highway, has been a recurring idea since the 1960s. This visionary plan aims to connect the Seward and Glen highways through a trenched freeway in the heart of Anchorage. Included in the 2005 Long-Range Transportation Plan, this project would represent a monumental investment, estimated at a staggering $575 million, $832 million in 2022 dollars. If realized, it would be the most extensive urban infrastructure project in Alaska's history, underscoring the city's commitment to enhancing connectivity. For those with accessibility needs, Anchor Rides steps in as the public paratransit service, offering point-to-point transportation for seniors and individuals with disabilities. Anchorage's commitment to inclusivity is reflected in these services, ensuring that everyone can navigate the city comfortably. The Alaska Railroad plays a crucial role in providing year-round freight services across its extensive rail system, offering a scenic journey through Alaska's wilderness. However, in the winter, the frequency reduces to one round trip per week between Anchorage and Fairbanks. Passenger terminals at key locations such as Talkeetna, Denali National Park, and Fairbanks ensure that communities are well connected, even in remote areas. The Ship Creek Shuttle further enhances connectivity by linking downtown Anchorage with the Alaska Railroad Depot. Looking to the future, Anchorage is exploring the feasibility of a commuter rail and light rail system. Leveraging existing Alaska Railroad tracks, this proposed system aims to connect Anchorage with Whittier, Palmer, Seward, Wasilla, and Eagle Rivers, providing more options for efficient and sustainable commuting. As we conclude our exploration of Anchorage's captivating allure, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button to stay connected with more enriching content. Anchorage's splendor is truly unparalleled, and we're excited to bring you more fascinating insights. Until next time, happy exploring. Seward's Folly, a famous part of US history where buying Alaska from Russia seemed like a huge mistake at first. The US paid a whopping $7.2 million, equivalent to over $150 million today, for what seemed like a vast emptiness. Surprisingly, Alaska turned out to be a treasure trove of natural wonders and resources. But why did the US buy it for such a high price when its value wasn't clear back then? Let's delve into the real reasons behind the US purchasing Alaska from Russia. Imagine the United States without Alaska. It's a massive state, the biggest in the country. Covering 665,384 square miles, it's 16% of all US land. Even Texas, California, and Montana combined are smaller, but here's a surprise. It's not just the westernmost state, it's also the easternmost. The Aleutian Archipelago stretches so far west that it reaches into the Eastern Hemisphere. With 732,000 residents, it's the third least populous state, with only Wyoming and Vermont having fewer people. Fun fact, there's a place where, on a clear day, you can see Russia from your backyard. But it's a very particular area along the Bering Strait. Alaska has a long history since Russia took control of it in the 1740s. It's been a place where people came hoping to get rich by using its natural resources like gold, furs, and oil. But Alaska is also home to native cultures who have lived there for a really long time. They know how to survive in the tough environment by using things like snowshoes, dog sleds, kayaks, and canoes. Today, 15% of Alaska's people are from these native groups, which is more than any other state in the US. Alaska is close to Russia, with only 55 miles between them at the narrowest part of the Bering Strait. A long time ago, when the world was in an ice age, Alaska and Eurasia were joined together by a land bridge called the Bering Land Bridge, or Beringia. This land connection made it possible for ancient people who hunted and gathered to move from Eurasia to the Americas and settle in the new empty land. As they traveled, some of them went south and eventually became the ancestors of the Native Americans. During this ice age, a lot of the Earth's water was frozen into huge glaciers, causing sea levels to drop by as much as 300 feet, 91 meters, all around the world. This made land appear that is now underwater, connecting places that are separated today. For example, Australia was linked to New Guinea, Britain and Ireland were connected to mainland Europe through an area called Doggerland, and parts of Indonesia were connected to mainland Asia. This last ice age lasted from 125 to only 14,000 years ago, which is actually a huge chunk of the total time Homo sapiens have even been on the Earth. the ice sheets reached their greatest extent and sea levels reached their lowest point during a period called the last glacial maximum, about 30,000 years ago. Then about 15,000 years ago, the Earth started warming up again. Glaciers began melting, sea levels rose, and the Bering Land Bridge went totally underwater about 10,000 years ago. Beringia, despite being in an ice age, was actually warmer and wetter than you might expect for Alaska. It served as a haven for animals like the woolly rhino and the North American camel. The plant and animal life there resembled Eurasia more than North America because it was separated from North America by the huge Laurentide ice sheet. Scientists think that around 20,000 years ago, a passage opened up in the ice sheet, allowing people to move into the rest of the Americas. However, these estimates are always evolving as new archaeological discoveries are made. In the 18th century, Russians were the first to settle in Alaska, but even before that, a long journey took them from Moscow to the Pacific coast of Asia. Russian expansion into Asia really started in the 1600s. The early Russian explorers were called Promyshleniki, which means your orphan. They were basically merchants and fur trappers. Their job was to help Russia move eastward across Eurasia. They were after furs, especially from sables, which they could sell in Europe and China. As these Russians traveled, they met the nomadic people of Central Asia and Siberia. Sometimes they traded with them for furs, but other times they didn't trade fairly. They would demand tribute or take hostages, asking for furs and pelts as payment, kind of like a ransom. This pattern continued when they encountered the native people of Alaska. In Russia, the Promyshleniki, kind of like the Cossacks, lived semi-nomadically in the Carpathian Mountains. These folks got a lot of freedom but had to help with the military when needed. It was a huge place, so there wasn't much oversight. People used to say, "God is in his heaven, and the Tsar is far away." Russia's move across Eurasia was slow and hard. They set up trading posts called ostrogs, where they could trade and charge a 10% tax. Things picked up under Tsar Peter the Great. He really wanted Russia to be like the big European powers. By the 1690s, they made it to eastern Siberia. Russia didn't just want an empire for money, they also wanted to be as prestigious as the big powers in Western Europe. And where did they look? To the east, of course. With Russia expanding all the way across Eurasia, it seemed natural for them to try their luck in the Americas, where other European powers had done well. A Danish captain named Vitus Bering, sailing for the Russians, checked out Alaska's coast in 1728. But it wasn't until 1741 that Bering came back to land. His ship, the St. Gabriel, landed off the coast of Alaska on an island now named after him. Unfortunately, Captain Bering and a lot of his crew got sick with scurvy and other health problems soon after landing, so there wasn't much celebration on the new island. Even though Captain Bering and his crew faced health issues, they managed to bring back about 800 otter pelts to Russia. These pelts became more valuable than sable. The Aleutian Islands had a pretty mild climate, and the waters around them were full of life. This attracted a bunch of fortune seekers sailing across the Bering Sea and into the Aleutian Islands in search of pelts. The people living in the Aleutian Islands, called the Aleuts, relied on the sea for food. They even invented the kayak and were skilled at hunting otters and seals. The name Alaska is thought to come from the Aleut language. Sadly, like many native people in the Americas, the Aleuts weren't ready for European diseases. About 80% of the Aleutian population died in the first generations of Russian colonization, dropping from 10,000 in 1741 to only 2,000 by 1800. The Russians noticed the Aleuts' hunting skills and, following the pattern set in Siberia, began holding them hostage in exchange for ransoms paid in furs and pelts. This led to excessive hunting that harmed the animal populations. When the Russians did trade goods, they offered liquor and firearms, along with the diseases like measles and smallpox that they unintentionally introduced. Grigory Shelikov, a merchant, saw an opportunity for a trading company similar to the British East India Company. In 1784, the newly founded Russian-American company, RAK, established its first permanent settlement on Kodiak Island. The RAK eventually gained a monopoly on all hunting, trading, and mining in the region. By the 1790s, the RAC abandoned the hostage-taking system, but what replaced it wasn't much better. Instead of being taken as hostages, all Aleutian men aged 18 to 50 were conscripted to become hunters for the RAC. Company officials were encouraged to marry indigenous women, leading to a significant Creole population with connections to both worlds. Russian America's influence stretched beyond the Aleutian Islands. They built a base on the mainland in 1799, calling it Fort Archangel Michael, located in what we now call Alaska's Panhandle. A few years later, the fort faced an attack by warriors of the Tlingit, known for their iconic decorative arts like totem poles, which are symbols of the American Northwest. The Russian-American company had to pay a ransom for the survivors. The Tlingit held Fort Archangel for over a year until a fleet arrived from Russia, bombarding the Tlingit into submission. This event is known as the Battle of Sitka, named after the indigenous name for the area. Sitka then became the capital of Russian America, complete with its cathedral and a bishop of the Russian Orthodox Church. The RAC aimed to turn the Pacific into a Russian lake. With considerable autonomy, they tried establishing outposts in Northern California and the Sandwich Islands, now known as Hawaii. However, Russian success in Alaska immediately attracted competition. The Spanish, defensive of any settlements on the Pacific coast, responded by expanding northward. They founded missions in San Diego in 1769, Monterey in 1770, and San Francisco in 1776. The Spanish also explored Alaska, creating a port at Valdez, which gained notoriety in 1989 due to the oil spill from the supertanker of the same name, releasing over 10 million gallons of oil into Alaska's Prince William Sound. Even though Russia claimed almost the entire modern state of Alaska, their presence in the interior was limited. At the time of Alaska's sale to the United States, only 1,000 Russians lived in the territory, along with another 2,000 identified as Creoles. As they didn't venture far inland, the Russians had minimal contact with one of Alaska's native groups, the Athabascans. These people, known for hunting moose and caribou, were the most migratory among Alaska's native populations, following the herds across the vast interior. However, it was another group that would become closely associated with Alaska. Originally known as Eskimos, now preferring the term Inuit, they are relatively recent arrivals in Alaska, settling in the region about 1,000 years ago. Today they span the Arctic from Siberia to Greenland, with the Inupiat in the north and the Yupik in the south. Russian America, distant from Moscow, received a supply ship from the motherland only once every 2 or 3 years. The colony soon relied on trade with other European settlers, especially Americans, who saw the potential wealth swimming off Alaska's shores. Merchants from Boston and New York initiated expeditions to Alaska with the aim of obtaining otter furs. These furs were later transported to Canton, a major Chinese trading post during that era. This marked the beginning of a triangular trade route involving New England, Alaska, and China. In particular, New England merchants showed a keen interest in whaling. They brought back valuable whale oil and baleen, which was utilized in various Victorian household items. Whale oil found applications in lamps, while baleen was woven into baskets and used for crafting fishing lines. The efficiency of whale hunting saw improvements with the introduction of the harpoon gun in the 1860s, although the demand for whale oil faced competition from petroleum following its discovery in 1859. The strategic use of American merchants as intermediaries in accessing Chinese markets was essential for the Russian-American company, RAC. As Russian merchants were prohibited from Chinese ports, and China had little incentive to support its northern neighbor economically. Despite the heavy reliance of Alaskan colonists on American supplies, concerns arose about Americans providing firearms and ammunition to the native population. Moscow approached the U.S. to impose a ban on this practice, but the federal government chose not to intervene. Simultaneously, the United States aimed to assert its claim to the Oregon Territory, a disputed region involving the U.S., Russia, and Great Britain. In April 1824, the United States and Russia resolved their differences through a treaty that defined the southern boundary of Russian Alaska at 54 degrees latitude. The agreement allowed both nations to engage in trade with the native population, with the exception of alcohol and firearms. However, the balance of power was swiftly shifting in favor of the Americans. By 1844, the US had signed its first commercial treaty with China, followed by a similar agreement with Japan in 1858. The Mexican-American War and the subsequent territorial gains demonstrated America's eagerness for expansion and commitment to upholding the Monroe Doctrine, which aimed to prevent any further European influence in North America. Despite any rivalry between Russia and the United States, their mutual distrust of Great Britain overshadowed these differences. Tsar Nicholas I emphasized this shared apprehension in a statement to the US minister in St. Petersburg, asserting, "Not only are our interests alike, but our enemies are the same." In 1853, the Crimean War erupted, a conflict where Great Britain and France joined forces to protect the Ottoman Empire from a Russian invasion. The war proved to be a decisive setback for Russia, revealing its lagging status compared to the formidable powers it sought to emulate. Notably, the Russian soldiers, many of whom were malnourished serfs in subpar physical condition, underscored the nation's weaknesses. Amid the tumult of the Crimean War, Tsar Alexander II ascended to the Russian throne in 1855, emerging as a transformative force in the nation's history. His legacy is indelibly marked by sweeping liberal reforms, chief among them being the emancipation of serfs in 1861. This groundbreaking decree brought an end to the oppressive system of serfdom, signaling a profound shift in Russian societal dynamics. Following the conclusion of the Crimean War in 1856, Russia found itself compelled to shift its focus towards Europe. Previous ventures in North America had yielded meager economic benefits, resulting in diminishing returns on the nation's investments in the region. This strategic redirection marked a pivotal moment in Russia's geopolitical considerations. In the early 1800s, there were a lot of sea otters, about 300,000 in the North Pacific. But by the mid-1800s, their numbers dropped a lot to just a few thousand because people were hunting them too much. Russia, who wasn't doing so well in North America, decided to change its focus to Europe. Alexander II, the leader of Russia, got advice from his brother, Grand Duke Constantine. Constantine didn't like the Russian-American Company, which was a big business in Alaska. He said it wasn't making money and compared Alaska's native people to Russia's poor serfs, workers. Because things weren't going well, Alexander's advisors thought about selling Alaska. Even though there was a little bit of gold found there, Russia didn't think it was worth keeping. They remembered how crazy things got during the California gold rush, with lots of people coming from all over, and they worried the same thing might happen in Alaska. So Russia had to decide, sell Alaska or lose it. They wanted to sell it to the United States, but the US was dealing with a civil war and didn't have a lot of money. Russia definitely didn't want Alaska to become part of British Canada because Britain was their big rival. In the United States, things were a mess because of the Civil War. Some people in Canada were thinking about joining together and still being protected by Britain. In 1866, some folks in British Columbia wanted to become part of the United States and asked the British government. Nothing much came of it. At the same time, the US House of Representatives discussed adding British Columbia, but they never voted on it. In late 1866, just before Canada was officially created, Tsar Alexander got a suggestion to sell Alaska to the United States. Alexander told his guy in the US, Eduard Stoeckel, to check if the Americans were interested. Stoeckel had been working for Russia in the US for a long time and knew a lot of people in Washington, D.C. He liked the idea of selling Alaska to the US. When it came to talking about the deal, Stoeckel found a willing partner in U.S. Secretary of State William Seward. Seward used to be the governor of New York, and he really wanted the U.S. to grow. He was against slavery and supported the U.S. taking over more territory. Seward was a typical 1800s politician, good at talking and comfortable in all kinds of situations. He didn't see a problem with supporting freedom and wanting the U.S. to expand, even if it meant taking over land from Native Americans. Seward always had his eye on Canada, saying back in 1853 that Canada was already halfway part of the United States. In 1860, William Seward tried to become the Republican candidate for president. During his campaign, he talked about Alaska, telling the Russians to keep building along the coast because those places would eventually be part of the United States. Even though he didn't win the nomination, Seward joined Abraham Lincoln's team, a group with very different opinions. During the Civil War, he warned the British not to support the Confederacy. He even threatened war with Great Britain and talked about invading Canada. After Lincoln was assassinated, Seward kept working as the Secretary of State under President Andrew Johnson. It was a tough time because Johnson used to own slaves, and many thought he was too soft on the South. Negotiating the sale of Alaska gave Seward something else to focus on, instead of the heated politics of Reconstruction. On March 9, 1867, Seward and the Russian guy Stickle met in Washington. Stickle was told to bring up selling Alaska only after Seward mentioned it. They chatted about fishing rights until Seward finally brought up the idea of the U.S. buying Alaska. Stickle said the Tsar was okay with negotiating, and the next day, with President Johnson's approval, they started talking. 5 days later, Seward and Stickle met again. Seward wanted the sale to be a secret until it was done, and he offered $5 million. Stickle promised to get a higher price, aiming for $6 to $6.5 million. During the next cabinet meeting, Seward showed a draft treaty suggesting the U.S. pay the Russians $7 million for Alaska. He seemed to think Stickle would be a good negotiator, and the cabinet quickly agreed with only a few small concerns. In the following meeting, Seward and Stickle worked out more details, including what would happen to the Russian-American company's remaining staff. Stickle was able to bump up the sale price to $6.5 million. After deciding to include the company's buildings in the deal, they settled on a final price of $7 million, to be paid 10 months after they signed the treaty. At the last minute, the price was increased from $7 million to $7.2 million. This change caused some disagreement when Congress had to decide on the money. The agreement also said the U.S. wouldn't have to deal with any past obligations, effectively getting rid of the Russian-American company. So, for $7.2 million, Seward got the United States 140 million acres of land, which was only about 2 cents per acre. From the viewpoint of the American public, the purchase of Alaska appeared to happen suddenly. While there had been discussions about buying Alaska before, there was no indication that a deal was about to be made. In later American history, the acquisition of Alaska was famously mocked as Seward's folly, a colossal mistake that only made sense decades later. However, this perspective is not supported when you look at the newspapers of that time. The New York Times called it an important annexation, which the American people cheered with delight. Other newspapers excitedly speculated that taking over Canada was likely next. The New York Herald urged Britain to gracefully leave a continent where its institutions didn't fit, warning that staying in North America would only bring trouble to its colonies and embarrassment to its government. Seward might have influenced some of this positive coverage, a common practice at the time and something Seward, being from New York, was well positioned to do. On the other hand, the Farmers' Cabinet, a Philadelphia publication, thought Alaska was hardly worth accepting as a gift. Some who disagreed with the sale included Horace Greeley of the New York Tribune, the person who coined the famous phrase, "Go west, young man." Ironically, it seemed he didn't mean that far west. He thought buying Alaska was irresponsible, especially considering the U.S.'s financial difficulties after the war. Despite these dissenting voices, it seems most Americans welcomed getting Alaska. They saw it as a place with valuable minerals and a destination for adventurous pioneers. Most importantly, Americans viewed acquiring Alaska as a vital step toward taking over Canada. They believed it was their destiny, and their destiny was clear. Despite conclusive evidence to the contrary, the notion that the purchase of Alaska was seen as a folly is considered one of the strongest historical myths in American history. This myth persists, despite the best efforts of historians to dispel it. The idea took hold because it aligned with the image of Alaska as a region filled with renegades, misfits, and pioneers, drawn by the promise of quick riches hidden beneath the ice. While the general public may have warmly welcomed the news of the purchase, Congress was less pleased, feeling annoyed that they hadn't been consulted. The Secretary of State could make agreements with foreign countries, and that was his job. However, Congress could object to the appropriation of funds, something they were supposed to control. Even though the $7.2 million price tag was relatively modest, the distant colony, separated by Canada, had the potential to become financially burdensome to govern. Despite potential concerns, there was no turning back on the deal without causing serious damage to the country's credibility. Moreover, the American people had been told that Alaska was now theirs, and Congress hesitated to take away this newfound frontier from the citizens. As Congress debated the appropriations bill, Russia anxiously observed the proceedings. If the bill failed, the Tsar contemplated the radical step of giving the territory to the U.S. as a gift, but hesitated due to concerns about the precedent it would set. Eduard Stoikel, well informed about Washington's pulse, dissuaded President Johnson and Secretary of State Seward from intervening, sensing their unpopularity in Congress could do more harm than good. Stoikel expressed frustration at the complexities of getting things done in the U.S., comparing it unfavorably to the monarchies of Europe, stating, "It is necessary to confer with some hundreds of individuals to know almost all of them." Almost immediately after the sale announcement, Americans flocked to the new territory. Settlers staked claims, hopeful that their holdings would be legitimized when the transfer to U.S. control was finalized. As part of the agreement, the U.S. swiftly established customs stations in Alaska to collect duties on imports from foreign nations. Some Russian citizens stayed in Alaska after the handover, but most returned to Russia, unsettled by the lawlessness accompanying the American occupation. The official transfer occurred on October 18, 1867, a little after 3:00 in the afternoon, attended by about 300 people. The ceremony lacked speeches, featuring only firearm salutes by Russian and American soldiers. During the flag lowering, the Russian flag became entangled in ropes, and to the shock of many, an American soldier used his bayonet to forcefully remove the Russian flag. After exchanging flags, the Russian commissioner simply stated, "By authority from His Majesty the Emperor of Russia, I transfer to the United States the territory of Alaska." With Alaska now officially under American control, Congress could only debate the wisdom of the purchase. Rejecting appropriation would lead to significant logistical challenges and harm the U.S.'s global standing. Nevertheless, some critics questioned how the U.S. justified spending so much money on uncharted territory while struggling to support Civil War veterans and their families. In July 1868, the House of Representatives agreed to provide the money for buying Alaska, with 113 members voting in favor and 43 against. In August, the U.S. sent the money to Russia through London, even though it was technically 3 months late. Surprisingly, no one seemed to be upset about the delay. However, in 1869, after the key figures behind the deal, Seward and Stoikel, were no longer in office, a new Russian minister named Konstantin Kataказy sent a bill to Hamilton Fish, the new Secretary of State. The bill included interest for the 3 months the payment was overdue and totaled $155,200. Kataказy wasn't explicitly told to ask for this late payment, and when he made the request, it was ignored. This added to the perception of Kataказy as an abrasive fortune seeker. After Congress agreed to the sale, there were accusations of wrongdoing. Banker George Riggs testified that Stekel had instructed him to send a bit over $7 million to London and leave $165,000 in the United States. It seems this remaining money was given to various journalists who had written articles supporting the deal. There were also reports that Seward had boasted about doing favors to make the deal happen. However, bribing journalists for positive coverage was a common practice at the time, so there wasn't much backlash. With Alaska officially under American control, it was put under the Navy's command, led by Major General Henry Halleck. Halleck appointed Jefferson C. Davis to lead Alaska, a man unrelated to the President of the Confederacy, but infamous in his own right. In 1862, Davis had killed another major general, William Nelson, unrelated to the country music legend, over a perceived insult. Now, Davis was given the responsibility of overseeing Alaska, with explicit instructions to be cautious of the indigenous Tlingit, described as warlike and treacherous. Halleck advised Davis to have guns loaded with grape and canister always pointed at their village, ready to destroy them at a moment's notice. For 6 months, Davis and his family lived in the governor's house, alongside Prince Maksutov, the outgoing head of the Russian-American Company. If Maksutov shared any wisdom on maintaining peaceful relations with the natives, Davis didn't seem to pay attention. Instead, Davis's time in charge was marked by violent confrontations, including the kidnapping of tribal leaders and holding them hostage, as well as large-scale massacres of villages. Native Alaskans protested the sale of Alaska, claiming it was illegitimate. However, lacking access to courts of law, they had little recourse to voice their discontent. In July 1869, William Seward, the man who played a key role in acquiring Alaska, visited the territory for the first time. To his dismay, he found the condition of the native people shocking, expressing regret that such a vigorous, energetic, docile, and gentle community could neither be preserved as a distinct social entity nor integrated into American society. Alaska attracted a mobile population of fortune seekers known for vices like drinking, gambling, and violence. The predominantly male population drew in prostitutes, and their cabins became essential to the growing towns. Simultaneously, a temperance movement began, mirroring the national prohibition in the 20th century. However, in Alaska, prohibition only led to the rise of smuggling and the production of dangerously unregulated homemade alcohol known as hooch. In 1880, the first census of Alaska took place, a challenging task considering its vast size and harsh climate. The census revealed a population of 33,000, with nearly all but 430 being indigenous. 1880 also marked the beginning of numerous gold strikes initiated by French-Canadian prospectors, including one named Joe Juneau. Following a familiar pattern, the city of Juneau quickly grew as gold hunters flocked to the area. Nome experienced a gold rush in 1889, followed by Fairbanks in 1902. The population of Alaska doubled from 1890 to 1900, surging from around 30,000 to over 60,000. This period reflected significant changes and challenges in Alaska, with the impact of gold rushes and the evolving social dynamics of a territory on the frontier. In 1896, a significant discovery unfolded as rich gold deposits were unearthed in Rabbit Creek, a tributary of the Klondike River in the Canadian Yukon. The Klondike Gold Rush ensued, leading to the extraction of more than $300 million worth of gold. By 1912, Alaska officially transitioned into a territory with its own legislature, marking a pivotal moment. Notably, women in Alaska gained the right to vote 8 years before the 19th Amendment was nationally passed. In 1915, Anchorage, a city described as having the softest birth of any city on record, emerged. This development was supported by federal funding and accompanied by measures such as a ban on gambling, saloons, and prostitution. Alaska played a crucial role in World War II, serving as a strategic location for mobilizing troops before their deployment into the Pacific Theater. However, it wasn't until 1959 that Alaska achieved statehood, becoming the 49th state in the United States and the first new state since Arizona nearly 50 years earlier. During the Cold War, Alaska gained geopolitical importance due to its proximity to Russia, leading to the establishment of military bases in Anchorage and Fairbanks. This period marked a transformative era for Alaska, shaped by gold rushes, legislative milestones, and its evolving role in national and global affairs. In 1971, President Richard Nixon gave Alaska's native people 44 million acres of federal land and $1 billion. But over half of Alaska is still owned by the government. This was a big deal for native communities. The sale of Alaska also affected Russia. Some Russians in the past thought Alaska showed how a government can go too far. Some said Alaska wasn't sold at all. It was just leased to the US for 100 years. In the 2010s, when Russia and the US had issues, some Russian politicians talked about taking Alaska back. They looked at the old treaty, but it was mostly seen as a joke. The Moscow Times even said it was generally facetious. Later, when they found oil in Alaska, things changed a lot, like when they found gold before. The money from oil, especially with the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, became a big part of Alaska's budget. They decided to put 25% of the money they make from oil into a savings account, and that helps run the state. Alaska is special because it doesn't have a personal income tax or a sales tax, so oil money is very important for the state. People used to think buying Alaska was a mistake, and they called it Seward's folly. But that idea might just be a story made up by historians looking for an interesting story. Instead, we could call it Seward's gamble, because it was a risky decision that turned out to be successful, bringing in a lot of gold, oil, and other valuable things. Most importantly, Alaska is seen as a symbol of the frontier, a place where brave and tough people can find opportunities to make a fortune if they can handle the challenges.